Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed, that woo, 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 and all that music, that means we are live right here on today's Freaky Friday. Yes, indeed. Can you handle our woo? I'm joined, as usual, by the esteemed Scotty Lopez and our Jedi Master of the Woo, Mr. Nacy, is here as well. So, guys, we're back again, and it's giving Kevin a week off this week, Scott. He's been very busy the past few weeks putting together nice, absolutely brilliant presentations. But we thought we'll take some of the workload away from Kev and we'll teach him how to do it raw. Freaky Friday raw. Yes, indeed, my friend. How you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. Another week is upon us, and the woo continues. The madness, the craziness, the high strangeness, if you will.
I find the chalice of woo overfloweth in the year 2021, or as we're now going to call it, we're going to call it Year Woo. Year Woo. I want to give a big shout out to Cliff High, who I was listening to earlier on today. You know, things got really kind of weird last year and the whole world changed, right? So we can look at that as Year Zero. And this is Year Woo. And where we operate, ladies and gentlemen, is the woo. And that's why, you know, we've been preparing for years, Kev, Scott. This has been like woo boot camp and we didn't even know it. Now we're just getting ready. The fight is just about to begin because the woo is going mainstream.
We've been unknowingly prepping the public for what was to come, right? We were ahead of the curve. Yes. Oh, yeah. If you wanted to get conspiratorial about it, maybe we were engaging in a little bit of what is it? Pre-programming, some memetics,
magic.
Meme magic, right?
Yeah. You got to wear a big pointy hat though if you want to do your meme magic, right? Ain't that right, Jimmy Jeans? Big shout out to Jimmy out there in YouTube land. That's right, folks.
Yes.
We're on YouTube today as well. Big shout out to everyone over there. But of course, we're on the home of Freaky Friday. Obviously, it's the home of Truth Frequency Radio because it is Truth Frequency Radio. TFRlive.com. Big shout out to everyone over on TalkStream as well. And just before I hand over to Mr. Nacy, find out what he's been up to for the past week, let me remind you, this is your chance to head on over to the Wookiee Cave, and you can have your name added to the Wookiee roll call. You've got about 3 minutes. I'll be timing you. So until then, Mr. Nacy, how you doing, brother? What you been up to, man? Mr. Nacy, give us a wave. Do 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 do. There he is.
Did I come through?
You are now, my friend. You are now. We hear you loud and clear from the Delta Quadrant, Kevin. How you doing, man?
Well, could I imagine that it's year 2020 woo?
Yeah, that would do fine. Next year, we're definitely going to go for that. We can have year 2020 woo next year and just year woo this year. Kevin, how's your week been, man? Has it been just another insane week in an insane world?
Well, I'm just saying in an insane world, beep, bonk, boodaloop, because it is my officially second day of fasting for the equinox. And I've been involved with some reservation business, and it's been a little exciting, especially when you get the opportunity to yell at your not your constituents, but those that are representing you. As we have on the reservation a tribal government, and like most governments, you find them behind the doors, behind the scenes, doing their dirty deeds.
Indeed.
Mr. Nacy kicking the hornet's nest on the reservation. Kevin,
hey.
Come on, it's a reservation. You're meant to be reserved on there. You're meant to tone it down a little bit. And I was saying, wasn't I, Scotty? But when Kev rolls up on the reservation, you bet there's people twitching at curtains. They're like, oh boy.
Hey.
Oh boy, here he comes, man.
Takes guys like Naysay to keep everyone flying straight, to let everybody know, who they're really working for. They're supposed to be representing the people.
I honestly thought you were going to say that politicians need reminding who their daddy is. That would have been really, really strange, but aptly freaky for a Friday. Let me tell you. So
yes,
listen,
indeed.
folks, we're going to come back to Nacy in a moment because we're going to be getting into the Wendigo. Ooh. We're going to be picking his brain about that one. We're going unscripted, folks. He said the word before the show. That's enough for me and Scott to go, ding, eureka. But we're also going to be going to Atlantis today. And we're also going to be looking for some of the creepiest, weirdest incidences of high strangeness that are happening on the planet right now. Because there's a load of weird things happening on the planet. There's weird things washing up. Antarctica's breaking apart. There's missing things in the Arctic as well. We're going pole to pole, coast to coast. And then some. Yes, indeed. But before we go there, Scott, I need to go and do my... the roll call, my friend.
The roll call, man.
Yes, indeed.
How dare you?
Well, listen, we dare every week, and it won't matter what you say, Greta Thunberg. I will not be stopping it. So, first up in there, you've got Kev. If you haven't realised already today, Dave is in the building. We've got Sophia. Bam! Trudy Glenn. Sounds like somewhere you'd go walking with your sweetheart and, young love. Just a walk down Trudy Glen. Then we've got Nightshade, Deadly Flower, Waffle Buddy, Love Waffles, the Gentle Wolverine. If only more Wolverines were gentle, Scott, yeah? What a great world would have. Paradoxical Anomaly, All One, Freeman 8, Daryl Bowles, Robofish, Psycho Dave, 3, 2, 1, then he goes mad. We've got Thor Heathen, the man with the most amazing facial furniture that I've seen on KBS in a long, long time. Carol Motzinger, Buzzacino, our resident philosopher. Yes, indeed. We've also got Z-Troy Man. How you doing, Z-Troy Man? Fellow Scott. We've got Engaged Creature. We've got thousands out there listening live. Listen, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you are. Big warm welcome. And now we're going to launch right into it, ain't we, Scotty boy? I see you sitting there full of anticipation. I'm looking forward to my first show with you in a while. Dave is in the building. It's going to be a good day, Scott. It's going to be a good day.
Well, let's get this going, Dave.
Yes, I've red-pilled and I'm ready to go. So.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Mr. Nacy, tell me, what were you hinting at before the show when you were telling us about your interaction with people on the reservation, and it caused you to question whether we might be dealing with something quite Wendigo. What's going on, dude?
Well, if I may digress, since we're going to talk of such things, Bujuanin, Naysay Indigenicas, Anishinabem, Minawa, Kevin Richard Shores, Indigenicas, Jaganashi Moog, Makwanin, Dunde, Minawa, Nindo Gichida, Aki, Minawa, Gawa, Bobby Ganikog, and Dunji Bob, Minawa, Moorhead, Minnesota, New Gumin Day, Chimigrich, Gichimanadu, Ganikana, and thank you, Kev, for the incredible opportunities to share, because I care. And
Dude,
I'm just saying,
I could listen to you speak like that all night. There's a rhythm, there's a beat to it. I don't need to understand it to be able to enjoy it. That's a lovely language, man.
It's the same like when you hear the Aboriginal people in Australia speak as well. There's a certain like rhythm to the cadence of when they're speaking.
They sing to you, man.
Yeah, there's something very tribal that like hits you at your core just when you listen to it. You're like, okay, this
now
is like...
imagine a Ikwe or a female whispering in your ear.
Yes, please.
Our traditional language. It is. Oh, yes, my friends.
I'm there with you, dude. I'm there with you. But that's for another show altogether. Please indulge me in the Wendigo to take my temperature down a bit, Kev.
So according to tradition, we are on the precipice where we can no longer talk about some entities because we're taught as Anishinaabe, when you start saying their names, that you could potentially be calling them to you. And so we only talk about these things when there's snow on the ground. But in the craziness up here in northern Minnesota, we're up in the 50s already. And so this is a little interesting. And we're even tapping the maple trees, which are usually something that doesn't happen till closer to the equinox, thus my fast, because the sun and the earth don't care about Gregorian calendars. But that all being said, I was at a reservation meeting on Monday, and they were discussing the future of our tribe growing and cultivating PPP. And at one point, I got so disgusted with the council. Right after our chairperson was speaking, I asked him, "Are you a Wendigo?" Straight out in front of everybody. And he refused to answer it. He said it was an inappropriate question and that I shouldn't have answered it. But I was more surprised that he was unwilling to answer it, because if somebody made any kind of proclamation that I may be such a thing, you would definitely hear me squawking about it. However,
so Nacy, there might be people out there, and I love to think we always get new listeners. They're maybe thinking, what did he say? What did he accuse the guy of being? A Wendigo? What's your kind of hot take on the Wendigo for people who might not have heard of it, Kev?
Well, with the Anishinaabe, what is the worst thing that you could do to another Anishinaabe? And that would be to take their lives. And then to even worsen it, that those that are willing to take a sip of the water of life inside our bodies, or have a extreme carnivorous appetite, and thus occurring. And a Wendigo will give in to your own darkness to that extent that you'll relinquish. And there is, for lack of a better term, semantics, demons or the devil, where if on physical level there is a constant back and forth of positive and negative, and finding neutral or balance is always our desire, then spiritual and mental, there would be the same battle. Some people talking about the battle of good and evil, but our people talk about the darkest of our people would be under those labels.
So there you go. That's a pretty much a rundown of the Wendigo, and how you become a Wendigo. Or
Byron Hardwick Big 1955 donated $10 through Super Chat. For David, Scotty, and Niece, I feel the woo is coming.
Ray, thank you, Byron. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought I'd managed to turn the volume for that one down and we'll just play it, but we'll hold them for the breaks so we're not interrupting the guys all the time here. But Scotty, I'm going to hand it back to you there, because I was kind of busy trying to deal with that there. I missed what you said, dude.
Well, no, I mean, I was just kind of wrapping up what Nacy was getting into about, but that's what the Wendigo is, right? It's somebody who has given into the most darkest sort of depravity of taking another life and then consuming that life. It's probably the most heinous sort of act you could commit against a fellow human being. And so it basically, I mean, I think if you were to stoop to that sort of extent, then I would say you were probably taken over by some kind of a demonic entity of some sort, or, you know. So yeah, that's what a Wendigo is, and I wonder, like, Kev, do you think like the Wendigo is also like tied into the Rake and all of that stuff? Like, do you think these are the same sort
you
of
bring
entity?
the Rake up, dude, because last night we were talking about a whole host of cryptids and paranormal on my late night stream, and I was mentioning to the audience about both Stan Gordon, somebody who's been researching the paranormal for over 60 years. Yeah. Way back to the Kecksburg UFO incident.
Wow.
Lon Strickler, who's been doing it for over about 40 years, over on Phantoms and Monsters. And the two of them, who, Lon, typically, he'll be all over the place. UFOs, cryptids, phantoms and monsters. Stan Gordon, UFO reports, that kind of thing. But the two of them, in recent weeks over on Warrior Mode, have both commented, independent of one another, that there's been a real uptick in something, these pale, emaciated, glowing-eyed, rake-looking entities. Now, to your question, does the Wendigo fall into that bracket? For me, it does. For me, it does,
I think
dude.
so.
Yeah.
Like, are we talking about maybe... I'll just say it. Are we talking about like a group of damned souls, like of damned individuals that are just cursed to sort of walk the earth in that form?
And I'm not going to go all doom and gloom, but we talk about the rise in the supernatural, the paranormal. Is it any accident? Is it any, coincidence then that we start to hear an uptick in this particular type of entity? And who knows what's going to come next, Probably indicative of our times.
Or, I mean, if we're talking about like timelines or dimensions phasing in and out, are we talking about some of these entities that might be trapped in one of these, I don't know, what would you call it, like a prison realm or something, or whatever, phasing back in, I don't know, man. I don't know. But
imagine if you witness somebody that gets that flash of greed on their face. For a visual, think of like Schmeagol before he was the Golem, so if you get so enthralled, there's a really good movie out there called Ravenous.
Sounds good. That sounds good.
And if that desire comes across, I can only imagine the shifting of your energy and your frequency to phase in and out of, having like a normal physical form, and then all of a sudden you see the demon beyond.
Well, this is something that actually me and my mom have discussed, like people that tend to be like, I don't know, I would say that the image of somebody reflects their soul in a way, right? So if somebody is evil or dark or has that, they tend to kind of look like that, especially as they get older, right? I mean, look at a lot of the elites and the pictures of them, and you're like, wow, they literally look like a reflection of who they are, And so, to Naysay's point, right, like Schmeagol in Lord of the Rings, his obsession with his precious, I want my precious, he turned into this pale golem, he basically, I mean, Schmeagol was if you saw a Schmeagle thing run across the road, I mean, that would pretty much be a rake, right? And
enough for me to be running the other direction, I tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. Makes you wonder, man. So,
but when you got to that point of Schmeagle, could you ever come back? That's that thing of if it is surely damned, the whole entity and the soul, is there always that possibility of coming out of the darkness and back into the light?
Who knows? Ooh, look at that. Kev just pulled up a picture of
the Rake ain't a pretty looking thing. It just ain't a pretty looking thing at all. I don't know.
Like I said, that probably would be what a Wendigo would look like if it was.
Dude, the story that Stan Gordon told us about one of these things was like this hardened person that lived out in the country, farmer, not a shrinking violet, not some soy boy by any means. Caught a glimpse of one of these things on the side of the road, and the first thing he done was bolt the doors, bolt the windows, load the shotgun, and sit and waiting, aiming at the door, and didn't move, petrified. Grown man. That was enough to tell me that's something out of the ordinary, dude. Way out of the ordinary, man. So I don't know what we're dealing with here. I don't know what it is,
If you see one. And if you know that there's one, then there's more likely a possibility of another one, and then another one. And the idea of being like, oh, I just ran into a pack of this.
So would you say the rake, the rake that we're looking at here in AC, you're talking about something that looks barely above skeletal. The skin's kind of barely hanging on to it, big glowing eyes, open mouth, horrendous looking, crawling along. Weird, dude. Does this fit in with like a Wendigo type scenario situation?
This is what some of the tales talk about, that when you give into that negativity and you have to fulfill that insatiable appetite, then, do you literally transform into this, that, or the other thing?
I'm trying to think if I've seen that movie, The Rake. I don't think I have.
There was a movie about it?
There's a movie. I'm pretty sure there's a movie with a rake in it, dude. Pretty sure of it. Yep.
The only one that comes to mind is the Changeling of horror movies, where in my head that I can remember, such an entity. But going back to the whole good and evil, how do you answer such a question? Because in my logic thought, or probably illogic, I don't know, depending on just the cap. But but if you're confronted with such a thing, to say yes, you cause a lot of turmoil with those witnessing such a thing, and then to say no, would you not then be disrespecting your allegiance to the negativity, and thus causing a double-edged sword of not being able to answer such a question?
Who knows, dude? Who knows?
It's a why did he take that sort of weird third road that, because if you were accused of something like that, then obviously you would just say, no, I'm not, right? Why would you say, why would you not say that? So I don't know, man.
But we can't accuse. That's where the challenge is. So we can ask and we can inquire, because if you accuse, then you can be held before council and you have to present your evidence.
You can ask. Yeah, like you said.
And so you have to be very careful on choosing your words, because at some point or another we'll be held accountable. Shall we be held accountable with the words we share?
Well, let's say a movie. I've not seen this one. I don't even think this is the one I was thinking of, but it's 2018, The Rake. It's on Amazon Prime. And brother and sister Ben and Ashley reunite 20 years after the violent passing of their parents to face the cause of their parents' passing, a supernatural creature known as the Rake. I think I'll be watching that. Just to see if it is like the Rake we're talking about. I'd imagine so, you know?
I would think.
This is another one born out of creepypasta. Another one born out of creepypasta by the looks of it. When I was giving it a quick Google there a moment ago. Creepypasta, dude. You can back up the top. Yep. TheRake.com. The modern voice of classic elegance. What's this?
What?
A crazy shot. Oh, 82 grand for a watch. Oh, well, the Rake's grifting big time. 82 grand for a watch. Might as well just get two, guys. Might as well get two. Who knew that the Rake was a designer, the modern voice of classic elegance for delivering every soy boy's needs, you know?
It's a very, very high-end boutique sort of...
It's where the Rake goes shopping, man. Yeah.
Who knew?
The Rake knew. And on that note, the break knew. Forget the Rake, it's the break. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. One segment down, 5 more to go before Brent Thomas takes you through the paranormal portal right here on TFRlive.com. Yes, indeedy.
Extendivite, a 7-herb
There we go, and I didn't hang up on me. Say yes, indeed. We're all good. We're all good, boys. I'm going to play a alert here that we got from DJ Bison, I believe is the name. Here we go. Yeah.
DJ Bison donated £2 through Super Chat. Google meteorite crash and purple sky Gloucester.
Yeah, there was a meteor went over the UK. I'll Google it here. I was seeing this in the news the other day, but I didn't think it was all that good. But we'll have a look.
Kim's like it didn't reach woo criteria at the time.
There was one in Canada I heard about in the last week or so that covered 3 provinces.
There's one down in Australia a week before that as well. Oh, it's Nibiru! It's Nibiru! Here we go. Fireball lights up the sky above the UK as a meteor breaks apart. I must admit, when you see one of these things, it's spectacular. A massive fireball meteor briefly lit up the night sky above the UK on Sunday, February 28th, and was seen by a potential record-breaking number of people. Why? You should all have been indoors. The fireball flared across the sky at 9:54 local time over southwest England for around 6 seconds. 6 seconds of some people's life, I bet you. So witnesses said that the meteor emitted an unusually bright light that was seen across the UK and as far away as Ireland and the Netherlands. It's amazing how that works when something's at altitude and countries on either side of you can see it, isn't it? I'm just saying.
Who knew?
But we had a sonic boom. I bet you that made people crap themselves. It would have made me crap myself. Experts estimate that the asteroid was travelling, 30,000 miles per hour when it hit the atmosphere. One of these days it's going to be the big one, folks. I'm not wanting to put fear out there, but one of these days it's going to happen, right?
Apophis, Kev.
But, I did see it saying the other day on the news that if you did find any of the debris from this space rock, not to be touching it. And if you did feel compelled to touch it, make sure you either picked it up in some tin foil or you put it straight into a plastic bag. Yes, indeed. Just in case it's highly dangerous, Scott.
Did you know that technically a tin foil hat would affect electromagnetic waves, although an aluminum foil, or how do you guys say that over there in the UK?
Aluminium.
Right.
It's not how we say it. It's how the word should be said, since we are English, you know. I'm just saying, here we go. Hey, listen. It is what it is. I'm just saying. Here we go. Tomatoes, tomatoes.
But an aluminum hat.
Yes, indeedy. Part 2 of today's Freaky Friday, with me struggling to shout over the top of the music, but that's okay, because we're here, we're live. It's part 2 of today's show. During the break there, we were taking a look at a story that DJ Bison from YouTube had brought up. Were you one of the lucky people in the UK that got to see the spectacular light show on February the 28th, were you? I know I certainly didn't. Because we live in Glasgow, there's a lot of ambient light about here. We would, a big mothership could fly over the top of us and we'd probably miss it, Scotty. But I'd imagine for people who did see that, it's like, wow, it's awe-inspiring. Even seeing a shooting star, you know, that can be kind of impressive. So something like that, I mean, I'm not getting super excited because I don't think it's full of woo, but that doesn't mean it's not cool. And it's kind of out there, if you've seen it.
I've seen multiple shooting stars. I've sat outside during like the the Perseid meteor showers and all of that stuff, and it's really really cool to see, you know, these. It's crazy to think that, you know, a lot of the just real common shooting stars that people see, those particles are, you know, those pieces of you know, space debris or whatever you want to call it, you know, they can be the size of like a grain of salt or something like that, and they create that spectacular of a, you know, a trail and everything behind it. So then, you know, you got to think, as the sizes of those things get bigger, you know, something the size of, say, a rock or a tennis ball, or, you know, even bigger, it becomes this very, very spectacular event. And there was a meteor that flew over Nebraska a couple years ago, and it was a very, very spectacular event. And my mom had actually seen it. She was standing outside in the back of our house, and she thought it was a flash of lightning. That's how bright it flashed, because, you know, it was in the night. But then she saw it, the trail of it, you know, off to the north, because we're in Kansas, and it went over Nebraska. So, yeah, it's cool to see those things. And then, you know, but then it makes you wonder, you know, what if these things get bigger, right? Then you start getting things like Chelyabinsk, where, you know, it's a little bit more than a sonic boom. Then you have a shockwave that actually does damage and, you know, causes injuries and stuff like that. So, I mean, it just shows how vulnerable we are to these things, and the fact that, you know, there's really, I mean, when it comes down to it, we really can't track any of this stuff. The objects that we do manage to track are a very, very small percentage of what's actually out there. So that's what's crazy. And oh, go ahead.
I remember when Hail Bob came around, and that was a very interesting thing, and it puts you in that whole perspective of, you know, beyond our troposphere, you know, the possibility of the heavens dropping things our way is prevalent. And is it just a meteorite? Is it a rock, space debris, or could it possibly be a good segue of a ship coming from the mothership?
Well, I've got a picture over here. It's got a lovely purple hue to the sky. I can imagine seeing this. I would love to have seen it, in fact. But it's definitely a spectacular light show. And back to the actual story about it, it got interesting. Or it got interesting for me anyway, because we're going to Glasgow, the University of Glasgow. Yes, they say most of the meteoroid vaporized during its 6 seconds of visible flight. That's what she said. Luke Daly, a UK fall scientist at the University of Glasgow, said in a statement, you see, I can sleep easy at night. I've got a team of like people keeping an eye open for meteors and asteroids, and they're in Glasgow. That keeps me comfortable, Scott. Says, however, with this one, we think quite a few fragments probably reached the ground. And if we come down here, it's finding the fragments. Using the videos submitted by members of the public and their own camera network, UK Fall members calculated the trajectory of the fireball and predicted a likely impact zone of north of Cheltenham. Shame it didn't go into GCHQ, just saying. But for the asteroid fragments, so far, nobody in the area has reported finding the meteorites. And from the meteor's trajectory through the atmosphere, UK fall scientists have retraced the object's journey through the solar system. It says the videos also allowed us to construct its original orbit around the sun. Ashley King, a UK fall scientist at the Natural History Museum in London, said in the statement, it said this particular piece of asteroid spent most of its orbit between Mars and Jupiter, though sometimes it gets closer to the sun than Earth is. And you know what happens? You see, this is what happens when you start landing rovers up on Mars. We're chucking things up at Mars. They've started chucking things back at us. This isn't going to end well. Maybe it's a Martian rover coming down here to see what the hell's going on Earth, you know?
Are we involved in a solar snowball fight now? I mean, this is kind of crazy. No.
Is there money in this? I know there's money in moon rock, but is there money in meteorite? Depends what's in it, I suppose, eh?
Yeah, I was about to say, some meteorites are very, very expensive, and you were saying during the break that they were telling people not to touch it or anything like that. Is it just because they don't want anybody claiming it and selling it and actually making money off of it? Or
if you find the meteorite on the ground, ideally photograph it in place, note the location using your phone GPS, do not touch it with a magnet, and if you can, avoid touching it with your hands. Catherine and Joy, a UK fall scientist at the University of Manchester, said, this UK fall, they've got a nationwide network, dude. Us Brits are prepared for the incoming rock, you see.
Oh.
Shame they only get to talk about it after it came in through the atmosphere, but that's okay. That's okay.
Well, what I find interesting, though, if you want to bring a little bit of woo into the situation.
Us? Woo on a Freaky Friday? Oh, please do. Do it. Do it.
Is how, significant the rock, of meteorites has been in, ancient times, right? I mean, didn't they find some pharaohs or some Egyptian royalty of some kind with like daggers or spears or something made of meteorite rock and stuff like that? It makes you wonder, like, some of these things that fall to the earth, could they hold some kind of power or be a lot more significant than just a piece of rock that has fallen, right? This is where we get into stuff like the Chiringa stones and things like that, right?
First hour of Freaky Friday and you're going deep Chiringa this early? Dang, dude.
Hey, I mean...
What about that big black cube that allegedly has a meteorite in it that people do the spiral around?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. There was definitely that whole thing, going on in Mecca, and that cube has a meteorite lodged in the side of it, or something like that, right, Kev? And
yeah.
So, I mean, this is another example of like the meteorite there was some significance to it. So, are we talking about just chunks of rock falling, or are we sometimes talking about maybe alien tech falling, or I mean, look, we have space debris that falls on the planet just from our own satellites, right?
And if you mentioned the Chiringa stone, I mean, that takes us like to the realms of what we've spoke about with the Australians before, a potential kind of war for this planet between the Palladians and some other race of beings that had this place at the time. And if there was this battle, right, things get blown up, debris floats about in space. It's not impossible that after however many years, something goes by it, knocks it, and it comes back. And so it could be ancient alien tech, you know?
That's what I'm saying. You know, I mean, we could have the remnants of some ancient battle, right? That debris could still be orbiting the planet, and then occasionally, you know, falling in and falling to the ground or whatever. So, who knows, man? Who knows? But yeah, obviously, you know, there's a lot of significance put on these things, and you got to figure. I mean, just from the standpoint of being an ancient culture, right? Like you see this fiery, you know, this fiery ball fall from the heavens, right? And you manage to actually find where it lands. That would probably be a pretty big deal. And then if you managed to find it and it was like doing something weird, right? So, something more than just a rock, like it was emitting some kind of, you know, you get close to it and all of a sudden you start getting like flashes of images or something in your head. You start receiving some kind of a download or something. Probably would.
Well, our friend Donnie from Down Under, let's go total woo. I love it. He says they used a meteor. Or they used to use meteors as weapons.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. If you wanted to take out a planet, or if you wanted to do a lot of damage to a civilization,
a
what
kinetic
better way?
Weapon that costs nothing. You just need to direct it.
The ultimate kinetic weapon. You don't need nukes. You don't need anything like that. That's just raw momentum and mass slamming into
at 30,000 miles per hour, baby.
At 30,000 miles an hour, it's not going to be a good day. I mean, you saw what happened in Tunguska, right? And by all accounts, that thing didn't even hit the ground. It was an airburst.
So if my magic wand is imbued or embedded with a meteorite, would it help me focus and cast my spells better?
It may do.
Well, that's that. The alchemist, you know.
Only if you've got a golden pointy hat as well. You got to have a golden pointy hat. According to Jimmy, that's how the best magic is done.
Right. Well, I don't like the tip, so mine's more of a cone dome head.
You see, it's all in the angle of the dangle. It's how it focuses that magical power, man. You see.
Remember, just like the pyramid, all that energy focuses at the apex. You got to have a point.
Listen, boys. Listen. I've gone from this was quite a mundane story to I'm actually thinking we need to start scouring the UK. Because check this out, dude. Check this out first, all right? ZX sent me this. I tell you, we threw out a kind of question. How much is it worth? You know, these things worth money, but just a little bit, just a little bit. So we come over here to, I think this is Christie's. Yes, one of our leading auction houses. You can have a cheeky little Valera meteorite, and it's only going to set you back, probably a cheeky little £5,250. But then if you want the Murchison orientated individual, which comes from Victoria, Australia, and it even gives you the coordinates and everything, well, this is going to start sending you back in the region of 23,000 British pounds. So now we're going up, boys. Now we're going up, yeah.
See, now do you see why they might have a little incentive of telling people, oh, don't touch it. Don't grab it. Don't put your hands on it.
Oh, the Martian 7034. Oh, 43
Oh,
grand,
nice.
man. 43 grand. Come on, man.
See, Kev,
Oh.
they're just taking it for research. That's what they want it
Oh
for,
boy,
Kev.
look,
Research.
look at this. This one is just described as an enormous stone, 74,500 pounds from the Sahara
Oh.
Desert. Where did that stone come from? Look at it. It looks like it should be on Mars.
I thought the Scottish stones were the most expensive stones out there.
Trust me, dude. These make Scottish stones look like child's play.
Pebbles.
92,000.
Goodness.
92 grand for the Simpson sphere, an extraterrestrial. Let's take a little look at this. But looks
What?
like an extraterrestrial's egg. It's an extraterrestrial crystal ball. Holy shit! That's what you need.
What
Pardon my
the-
language. That's what you need for your magic, folks. So it says,
Hold on. Wait.
originating from a large Same-Chan meteorite sample that underwent a number of stages of grinding and polishing in a sphere-making apparatus. That sounds like it's some kind of alien tech. Dazzling amber-hued olivine crystals are distributed throughout this highly polished iron-nickel matrix, sprinkled with a little dose of kryptonite and unobtainium just to make it really cool, you know?
Leave it to the Russians to take a meteorite, right, and do their whole diamond shaping, turn it into a glorious sphere, and then sell it for almost 100 grand.
Dude,
dude.
that's hey, you know it's a British auction house, hey. In the small print, don't forget you've got your EU tax and your VAT to pay on top, you know, immediately after
You
the
know what?
auction, or you ain't getting out of there.
You know, Kev, I think if you're the kind of individual who's dropping almost 100 grand for a sphere that was carved out of a meteorite, you probably can afford the EU tax.
Or is
and
that just the
tax.
ultimate grift? Is it the ultimate grift to come up with
You
something?
find out it's only 100,000 pounds, but 900,000 pounds is all tax from the UK.
Telling you, dude. I mean, when you looked at this thing, they say, I must admit, it looks like somebody stuck together a broken, like, it actually looks, when I'm on After Effects and I'm putting textures on, this looks like broken kind of eggshell or something I'd be putting into my picture. Yeah.
It looks kind of weird.
That there, baby, that there was hand forged in a Palladian kiln about 50,000 years ago. 92,000 is cheap. Palladian hand hewed. So it's Scotty. Telling you, man.
Polished by the Nords themselves, Kev.
Oh man, do you think that's actually been in the hand of a Nordic? Is that a Nordic ball?
Ooh, who knows?
That sounded a heck of a lot worse than it did when I actually thought it.
But the question, though, I mean, for real though, like
For reals? For reals?
for real, where did it originate from?
Come on, Nacy, help us here, man. Do you think this would? Do you think we're being like? Do you think somebody's trying to blow smoke up my tuchus here? Do you think I'm about to part with an imaginary £92,000 for nothing, Nacy? You think so?
Is it Barnum Bailey who said there's a sucker born every minute?
Yeah.
And this is where I got in trouble about art, you know, because it's like, why don't you have any art up?
I love
And it's
art,
like,
but it's expensive.
well, I love it and enjoy it also, but, you know, who was it that said, hey, this is $1 million painting, you know, and then all of those elitists, they're like, hey, have you had Bob paint you something? Yeah, I paid Bob $92,000 to paint me something. Then they're like, oh, I got to get Bob to paint me something for $100,000. Then somebody else is like, I had Bob and I paid him $150,000. Next thing you know, Bob.
If I was Bob, I'd have stopped painting after 2. I'm done. That'll keep me going for now. Paint yourself, you know. Who knew you could buy extraterrestrial crystal balls online. Listen, can I give a shout out to DJ Bison? Because when I first seen this story, I thought, how on earth can this mundane meteor that lit up the sky in the UK lead to any good woo? Look where we are. We've done a full segment on it. Brilliant.
Exactly. And another bit of woo I noticed about the story is that purple glow, right? And from what it showed on
purple glow.
It showed.
Don't quit your day job.
No. My mum's the singer, and they say you and my mum singing together would be like epic. But anyway, Scott, purple skies. I'm sorry, man. I'm in a boisterous mood tonight. It's the Red Bull.
Indeed.
Aquarian skies.
So didn't this purple glow happen? Did they say it happened the day after? Or was it?
It says stargazers have been enjoying one of the liveliest weeks ever in Gloucestershire's skies after meteor fragments fell. And now, in a separate incident, mysterious purple glare has appeared. Oh boy. Okay then. People in Gloucester and Cheltenham. Now, I didn't know this part. I just... Look, see what happens when you assume, Scott, when you just grab a headline. You see what happens to me?
When you pulled it up, I scanned through it real quick, and I was like, wait, there's a little more to this than just...
People in Gloucester and Cheltenham have been baffled on Thursday night, March the 4th, as a strange colour lit up the night sky. So the bizarre phenomenon comes 4 nights after and it's got in air quotes, fireball. Like that leaves it kind of open. Was it a fireball? Was it a UFO? Was spotted on Sunday evening. Now, experts believe rare meteorite fragments could have crash landed just north of Cheltenham. Or are we looking at some kind of crash technology right enough, and we're looking at aliens coming back to look for it? One resident who wished not to be named said he first spotted tonight's weird light at around 7:30 p.m. on King's Ditch Retail Park, moving towards the animal shelter area. He said, I followed it for about 10 minutes and it was getting brighter and moving quickly. The light would go, then a flash of white light followed by purple light again. It was really weird. And tonight's lights appear similar to the ones reported 2 years ago by residents living over Gloucester. Now, you talk about blue sprite lightning. In my mind, I'm thinking it can't be anything to do with that. But, Scott, what's that look like when you view it from the ground, from underneath? Do you see anything? And it would be very quick anyway, right? It'd be very quick, probably, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there would be no way to see it from the ground unless you were like very, very far away from the storm and you could see it like on the horizon coming up from the top of the storm. So I don't think this would be that. And those only occur in like very, very powerful thunderstorms. And I don't think you guys had any of that going on in the UK. So my next guess would be piezoelectric discharge. Possibly, or something.
Well, I'll tell you what, right? I'll tell you what. Back in 2014, we had lights over Gloucester, and they tried to explain it away as being the Northern Lights. It says the Southern Lights, or it's the Southern Lights. Aurora Borealis is seen in Gloucestershire. The spectacular solar display colours the night sky across Britain. Now, again, folks, this is 2014. This is the earlier incident. It says such light displays are in the sky, often occur in the Arctic and Antarctic regions, but illuminated parts of the UK last night. And I know that in the north of Scotland you get them. As far south as Gloucester, it's quite uncommon, but does it mean it's out of the ordinary? Does it mean it's not that? I don't know. We'd have to find out if there were solar storms in the past, because suspicious observers mentioned that there was a swarm of sunspots. I don't know if there was a wind coming in. I don't know.
I don't know if it would be the Northern Lights, though. From what I saw, I mean, that looked like a very kind of isolated blob of purple, right? Like, you would think it would cover more area and that there would be more... to it.
And it was in 2019 as well. in 2019. Now that just looks like a weird kind of
sunset kind of or something.
Sunset by the looks of it. What's going on in the skies over Gloucester, folks?
Yeah, but see, that looks more isolated, those recent ones. And like I said, to me, it seems something like piezoelectric or something, maybe in the magnetic field. I mean, it could be something related to aurora in terms of something like charged particles or
14th
something.
14th of November last year.
Yeah, what is going on in
Gloucester and Cheltenham, Sneaky Beaky, RNSA. I wonder what they're throwing up into the old stratosphere out of the golf ball that sits down there,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The thing that makes me ponder is if you look at different chemicals or elements that when they burn, they create certain colors. And isn't it manganese that burns purple? So it makes me ponder what is up in the sky, if anything was placed there.
Yeah,
could it be this reflection of the sun on small particulates of certain elements?
Because purple is a pretty like, you don't really see purple that often in the aurora. It's mostly green, and then it kind of. So I don't know.
That
it's a mystery.
We will be right back. Yes, it is a mystery. We'll dive deeper after the break. Don't go anywhere. There we go. I'm actually just a bit weirded out by how often it's happened down there.
Yeah, and this
bit strange, right? Happening all the time.
Gloucester or whatever the name of that. Yeah, it seems to happen a lot over this same area, this one particular area, which is kind of strange.
Well, if I could get the longitude and latitude and put it in my calculator, we can see if it's an electromagnetic anomaly. I ruined that because I had something else that was supposed to come out of my mouth, but I accidentally said puss, and it just ruined the whole flow.
I find if there's any other ones.
Do you remember Hailbot, Kev?
Yeah. Yep. I sure do, man. I sure do. All right. 4 days ago, there was news out talking or telling the UK. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. But they were warning us that we might get a solar storm coming in. We might have the northern lights showing up. It says stargazing fans might be in for a real treat tonight, as experts are saying the famous northern lights could be visible. And this was on the 1st of March. So,
I mean, it could be it, but I don't know. It just seemed very isolated. And the fact that this has happened repeatedly just over this one area, like you would think that you would see it in multiple places, right? If it was the aurora.
My mum says that she would love to sing a song with you. Sorry, Scott, but I just got that urgent message there, and they say my mum would love to sing a song with you and your absolutely rhythmic voice, she says. Yes. And can I give a big shout out to Temperance? It's Alien Girl. Big shout out to you. And I've got one super chat to play here that we never got to. Thor, the man with the great beard, Scott. What a beard. It's fine facial furniture, my friend.
If you're gonna rock the name Thor, you've gotta follow it up and rock the beard to go with it.
You have to.
Thor_Heathen donated $2.99 through Super Chat. Love and woo to one and all.
Thank you. And Epic big shout out to you, man. Heard you were running for cover with that earthquakes there yesterday, but he says, I like this. So if it's the if it is the electric aircraft, maybe it discharged too much plasma and ionized that section of the atmosphere. Question mark.
No.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, could we talking about the mysterious
Here we go.
T-37B flying back in or something?
X-37B.
X-37.
You see, you're getting your X-37Bs and your TR-3Bs mixed up, Scotty. Come on now. Come on.
Ah, yes. I know. Oh man, it's tough. It's tough.
It's tough to keep up in it. There we go. We're just back from a quick journey around the planet in a X-37B. I almost forgot the name of it there. Or was it a TR-3B? You see, we're getting our secret and UFO aircraft mixed up, Scott.
Well, look, I just came up with a new prototype. That's what it was, and
Indeed,
they'll be testing that one soon. They'll take the best of each one and they'll merge them together, and we'll have a new triangle. We'll have a new UFO to be spotted by the public.
So we've had these lights. We've had the meteor down in England. NASA, you mentioned Canada. There was also one in Australia recently as well. 3 giant earthquakes in one day. Anything we need to be getting concerned about, boys? Just saying.
I came through a burning ring of fire. And if you look back, as we were talking about Nibiru and the ring of fire, look at these earthquakes that are occurring and how they correlate around the ring of fire, because you can possibly track a pattern as they happen and their occurrence as they go around the ring of fire, and how it correlates with the new moon and the full moon. Because when things get in alignment, then at some point there's an alarm that goes off.
Indeed. I mean, look, you're just now in day 2 of your fast, because we're approaching the equinox, right? And we've saw this uptick in earthquake activity, and now we've got some mysterious lights in the sky, and so it makes you wonder: is there just some interesting earth change stuff going on? Is there some cosmic forces at play that are tugging and pulling on the planet and causing some unrest, I guess you could say? Who knows, right? But I think in general, I mean, just here over the past 5 to 10 years or so, I would say that the uptick in meteor activity has increased greatly. Like it seems like a very, very common thing now for, just every couple days in the news, you see, fireball spotted over, so-and-so. And it's just, it seems to be a lot more in the news now. And I don't know if it's just because of the fact that, more people have cell phones now and are able to film these events and they're reported more, or if it's actually an uptick in activity. And I think there's an uptick going on. I just don't chalk it to the fact that, more people are seeing it, because I mean, even if they didn't have cell phones or whatever, I mean, more people would be reporting these things, just seeing them with their. So I don't know. I definitely think that we're entering an area of space or something where we're running into a lot more of this space debris, asteroids and meteors and who knows what else. Or, going back to the whole Nibiru situation, is something dragging stuff into our solar system. Who knows? Either way, man, we're definitely seeing an uptick in this stuff. an uptick in meteors, an uptick in earth change stuff. So I think there's something going on. There's something that is affecting the planet somehow, some way. Just who knows what it is? That's the question.
Would you reckon they say, come on, man, how's with it, dude? What's happening?
Well, this is where we go back to the ancient peoples around the world and their obsession with paying attention to the heavens. And when they use these occurrences of the heavens to put them in a cycle or a measurement, depending on your ruler, where are you going to lay, where are you going to lie, and does it come around and around and around again? Or is it always a new surprise every moment?
Good show. Sorry, I was just trying to dig something up there because there's more earth-changey type stuff going on. Jimmy had sent me a story. You guys caught
me right after... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay, man. Jimmy had sent me a story the other day, but I've got one of the headlines here. Just more of the stuff going on the planet right now. New satellite image shows Earth's largest gigantic iceberg. This comes from yesterday, and it says, "Behold," not a pale horse, but A74, not quite as cool a name, but an enormous iceberg that broke away from the Brunt ice shelf in Antarctica last month. And here's what we know about the new berg and what could happen next. And listen, I'm not going to get deep into that because we've got that cracking up. We were talking about the giant crack in Africa yesterday as well, Scott. Luna in the chat room, shout out to Luna. Look, I don't know the kind of science involved here, whether it's even feasible, right? But I've always been somebody that's had time to entertain the idea, the notion of an expanding type Earth. You know, again, if the Earth was to expand, I think that could explain how layers of history, civilizations that were once here can almost be eradicated, gone, no trace, because these expansion events, I don't know, maybe they're very rapid, maybe that's what pushes continents in different directions. I don't think it takes millions of years. I think it's something pretty sudden, but again, I don't know if the science is even there to back it up.
I think the Earth probably goes through cycles of expansion and contraction and all of that. But I definitely, believe that the size of the Earth is this dynamic kind of fluid thing that is always changing, right? I mean, why is it so hard to believe that the Earth could be expanding and contracting whenever we have plates, that are free flowing on the surface and they're being pulled apart and pushed together? And, at some points we have supercontinents where everything, all of the plates are shoved together and then they end up breaking apart and spreading out. And then you have to also talk about like the centrifugal forces of the Earth rotating and, how, technically we're not like a perfect sphere or anything like that, where we kind of bulge out, the Earth bulges out at the equators because of the centrifugal forces. So, Earth is a little bit more kind of oblong, slightly oblong shaped. But, I definitely think that expanding Earth is a very real possibility, when it comes to explaining a lot of this stuff. Or it just makes sense to me. It just seems like something that would kind of logically make sense in my mind. And then that gets into, is that how we have this whole kind of like cavernous Earth thing that could be going on, where we have these pockets of, open area, I guess you could say, or these pockets where you could have these like civilizations that are living deep under the crust or whatever. I mean, who knows, man? But yeah, expanding Earth, man.
As a kid, we used to have this glop that used to buy in a tube, and it came with a straw, and you would put a little ball at the end of the straw, and you would blow into it, and it would stretch out like a bubble. So if you think about this, we're at the molten core of the Earth, that if there was a big, huge chunk of metal and it had certain elements in the center of it, and as it got closer to the molten core, it started bubbling, just like when you have your pizza crust when it makes a huge bubble, or when your quiche starts getting bigger as it gets heated up. So things would expand. And so it would easily, create these big, huge caverns. And then at a greater level, like you were talking about, the Platonic crust, how they would shift in that same thing. If it got too hot underneath and it expanded. And then on top of that, the rotation of the Earth in its whole Coriolis force, you have so many different angles to see the perspective of it causing shifts occurring. And then thinking of the greater cycles of the planets and that electromagnetic push and pull that we have on each other. So, yes, certainly things are expanding and contracting.
Yeah, and another thing, right? And I had brought this up with Kev the other day, right? Like, do we even really understand what role the magnetic field has in the stability of Earth's crust in a way? Like if the magnetic field is stronger, does it hold the plate boundaries together tighter, right? Like keep the Earth's crust in a more stable sort of kind of lock it in a more stable way. And if the magnetic field starts to weaken, does that kind of allow maybe some slight expansion and allow the crustal plates to kind of jostle around and move a little more freely, right? Because then you don't have this magnetic field that's like holding everything together. So there's a lot of things that I think science doesn't understand, and these are a lot of questions that need to be answered that we just don't really know, but it kind of makes sense to me.
Well, here's a pondering about the perspective of looking at the Earth. And my first question I would have to our Australian friends, we talk about the northern lights, but are there southern lights?
Yes, there are.
Because if we look at the Earth and this alleged tilt that it has, when it's going through its cycle of the year, that tilt is going to be more or less towards the sun. And once it's more or less towards the sun, then that mass ejecta that the corona of the sun propels towards the Earth will get caught in that toroidal field of the Earth, where at the poles, the magnetic poles, there are different, different, the magnetic sphere doesn't actually work the same in all locations of the Earth. And there's a major difference of the electromagnetic fields at the magnetic poles. And so what if we weren't even allowed or able to go to the North or South Pole because it would change the construct of the magnetic field? And since our body is designed specifically to your certain field, would we fall apart?
Well, I'm speaking to a dude that's been to Antarctica on Wednesday. Can't say he's exactly been to the South Pole, but he's definitely been to Antarctica. And the southern lights go by the name of Aurora Australis. Aurora Australis, I think that's the name of it. I don't know, because we're in the northern hemisphere, it's like the southern lights, the Aurora Australis. It's something that I've never really paid much attention to, but I think I don't know, in my mind, and again, it's just in my mind's eye, I would say because of the electromagnetic system on the planet, I don't see any difference between the North and the South Pole magnetically, like energetically, because that's part of the system. You know, it wraps around, goes in both poles, you know, back to the other one.
You just have to think of it as a mirror image, right? It's flipped and it's the opposite polarity, you know, the opposite side, whatever.
It's that donut that comes out and back in and around, that nice little torus kind of shape you see around it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of...
And of course, Kev, you had Admiral Byrd who did say, you know, you could fly pole to pole. And how you get there, I don't know, but who knows what's down on the bottom? Who knows what's up on the top? But I think this would be a good chance. I'm going to let you get in a sec, Kev. But after that, we're going to take a little tour back to Bimini, because yesterday on the show that definitely whet my appetite for Atlantis type stuff. We're talking lost civilizations, expanding Earth. Could Atlantis have been swallowed? But before we get there, Kev, back to you, brother.
Well, I was just going to bring up the perspective of it, because allegedly when they went out into space and they looked back at the Earth, that we were actually upside down to the orientation that we've all been conditioned. When you look at a globe and how the states, well, the different states, countries, continents are actually upside down to the lie of the globe.
There we
Sorry,
go.
I was looking up something.
You're always looking
I
up
apologize.
something.
Usually I ran for so long.
I know, Kev, you're just, usually you give us a clue who you're going to or something. Today you're just kind of dropping the mic and you're out of there. You try to keep me in Scotland. I'm telling you, man, you're making us work today.
So, have you guys heard that? So you have the what is it? The circadian rhythm, right? Your body's like 24-hour cycle or whatever. But did you know that when a human goes into space, the circadian rhythm of the human body changes to that of a Martian day, and nobody knows why that is?
Probably because we come from there.
That's what I'm saying, man. Yeah, I don't know what the hour period of a Martian day is, but yeah, when a human goes into space, their circadian rhythm just all of a sudden changes to that of a Martian day. And I thought that was very, very interesting. Yeah, and it made me think the same thing. Well, maybe that's because our bodies are actually tuned to that. You know, that's kind of a deep genetic memory.
Do you know that Mars, the length of a day on Mars, this can't be right, but it is. The length of a day on Mars is one day, 0 hours and 37 minutes. It's only 37 minutes more than our day.
Yeah, because from what they said, it's like our circadian rhythm goes from 1 to like 1.6.
Yeah, when you think of a day, you normally think of one cycle of daytime to nighttime. That's called our solar day. On Earth, the solar day is around 24 hours. However, Earth's orbit is elliptical, meaning it's not a perfect circle. And that means some solar days on Earth are a few minutes longer. But it says here, Mars, 25 hours it's got for a solar day.
Interesting.
Yeah. We we're very well matched to that. If we did at some point evacuate Mars to come here, it was not only the closest neighbor, it was a no-brainer of a choice. You know, maybe, you know, at some point we were that advanced up there on Mars. Maybe we went terraforming. Maybe we started creating the Earth. Maybe we made it livable. Maybe it looked like Mars at one point. Maybe somebody like Elon Martian Musk took off and terraformed Earth, built as a moon, you know, and that would explain why when they landed in Egypt, Cairo named after Mars base. I'm just saying it could be. It could be. It's kind of fantastical, I get that. But I think it's time to head to the Bimini. What do you think, boys? A little taste of Atlantis before the break. Now, Kev, yesterday, me and Scott were talking about the Bimini Road, Atlantis, strange crystals that may be powering ancient technology and may still be lying underwater today. What do you think of all this stuff, man? You ever looked into Bimini?
Well, when we look at the Bermuda Triangle and the occurrences that happen there and the different electromagnetic spectrums around the world, why would there not be areas that had more or less? But when we try to figure out the causation, could it be in Bimini they captured some of these meteorites and polished it to the right frequency, and now they're lighting up the town with Tesla technology that he downloaded?
Could well be, dude. Telling you, could well be. But if we come back here, where are we? There we go. I was just taking a look there. I've seen the Australians in the chat room talking about how Canberra is modelled after Atlantis. We're going to dig into that at some point after this year. I need to take a look at that. But it says, does Bimini Road lead to the lost civilization of Atlantis? Do you know what I find interesting about all this as well, boys? If there's a picture here. But last week, or there's not. Last week, right, we were talking about Nassau, the pirate capital, and everything else, right? And when you start to look at, you know, the location of these islands and the neck of the woods and everything else, it makes you wonder if there was other treasures that these pirates and the British Empire were after. You know, it's a long way from home for the Brits, and I get it was a convenient place for the colonies, but there's something going on there, Scott. You know?
It's a very interesting question, right? I mean, we see how the bad guys during the 30s and 40s liked to send out expeditions to look for artifacts and things like that. And you got to wonder, you know, if the British Empire at the time, right, they were the most powerful empire, you know, on the planet at the time. And if they had knowledge of some of these artifacts, or you know, maybe there was like whispers of some kind of treasure or something that held some kind of significance and power out there, then of course they would invest into going out there and looking for it. And maybe these pirates caught wind of it as well, and so that's why you saw all of this flurry of activity around the Caribbean islands and you know, all of that area, the Bahamas and all of that. I mean, because the Bahamas, that is Bermuda Triangle territory right there. And so I don't know. It's very possible. And, you know, this ties into the Oak Island stuff, Kev, right? Because obviously people had, there was expeditions going on out there and people on the island in the, 1700s, 1800s. And so,
Nassau,
I mean,
New Providence, Bimini.
Yeah, see, so Bimini's off the coast of Florida. Yeah, that's, you know, I'm just saying, maybe there was a little more to it than just, you know, oh well, we're just exploring out here and claiming territory for the crown.
Something going on.
When you start breaking apart gold and the strange anomalies that gold has, it's incredible the woo that you can find when you come to the difference between pure gold or 28 or 28 carats, 24 carats, 12 carats. You know, there's a reason why it's called different carats, because pure gold is almost like a putty where you can squeeze it and press it and pinch it to where they have to add harder metal to the gold for it to stay in like a molded or crafted like a ring or something of that nature. You have to add a different metal to it.
You have to create an alloy in order to make it strong. Another question is so say you had a ship loaded with gold, right? What kind of like energetic effect does that have? Like if you're surrounded by a lot of gold, or you have a lot of gold concentrated in one location, does, you know, what it just makes you wonder, like what does that do? You know, it'd be like having a bunch of quartz or something located in one location. You would think that there would probably be like an enhanced energetic vibe. I don't know what properties gold has, but as far as like an energetic effect, I mean, I know that it's conductive and they use it in, you know, space applications, and there's a lot of uses for it. So I don't know. We'll get into this when we get back, because it makes me wonder what could be going on these ships with that amount of gold on them.
Coming back after the break would be a golden attraction for all of you.
There we go, boys. There we go. Now I am going to go and take care of the angle, the dangle. I'm going to go and pay homage to the personal python. And then I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Now, Nacy, are you needing time to go PPP, or would you like to regale the audience with your tales and your wisdom?
Well, it's up to Scotty. I can always babble on, or I could just serenade Pearl.
Yes, just serenade my mum. Give her some Purple Rain. She'll like that. She's a big Prince fan, you know.
I never meant to cause you any sorrow.
He's some dude at
I
singing
never
this,
meant
man.
to cause you any pain. I only wanted to turn around and see you smiling. I only want to see you smiling in the purple rain. Purple rain. Copyright infringement. Purple rain. All hail the Purple King.
Indeed.
Talk about some major woo on his murder.
There's I think what I find crazy is that like him and like Michael Jackson like had this thing to where they hurried and like copyrighted their songs or whatever as soon as you know this flash of whatever creativity came to them, because they were always like afraid that the other one was going to come up with the same song, right? So it was like Prince was afraid that Michael Jackson would come up with his ideas and vice versa, which is kind of strange. But
well, that goes down my woo hole about the entertainment world, where do they ask for special entities that have the ability to tap into dimensions or other realms to allow the essence or spirits of creativity to enter them, or if they're able to tap into that Akashic records of creativity as artists.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's like inventors that come up with the same concept or the same thing, completely independent of each other, right? And then it makes you wonder, did they just happen to tap into that same bit of knowledge that's held in the Akashic record? And
yep.
Has that ever happened to either of you? Of when you thought of an invention and then all of a sudden down the road it comes into fruition?
Nah.
No, I've
Never?
had that many times where I've thought of an invention and then found out that it already existed, and that was just down to the fact that I was like, oh well, I guess I wasn't as creative as I thought. Right? I wasn't as I'm like, dang it, somebody already beat me to it. I'm not that slick.
When
'Cause if that was the case, I guess I'd be a millionaire or a billionaire, right?
When I
One
was a
day,
little kid, I
Scotty.
was sitting inside the front hood of my stepfather's car while he was changing the oil with the old oil cans that you had to puncture with a spout, and he pinched his hand while he was doing it.
Here we go, dude. Sorry, man.
Oh, that's
Here
all
we
right, no problem.
Okay, you still got time yet, Kev.
But I was drinking a soda at the same exact time, and I said to my stepdad, I'm like, Terry, why don't they just put oil in a bottle so you can just twist off the cap and pour it in? And he's like, these oil cans have been like this when my dad was a kid, and they'll be like this when you're a kid. And like a year later, I remember going to the local corner gas station to get some candy, and Standard Oil had this huge display of oil in a can, in a bottle.
Here we
And I
go.
was like, that's my idea.
Here we go, guys. Here we go.
Creative Jesus.
How dare you?
We dare because it's Friday. Because it's Friday, it's Freaky Friday right here on TFRlive.com. Big shout out to everyone over in the chat room. A fine selection of Wookiees we've got in there today. Some young, some old, some new faces. Some people that have been there forever. Big shout out to everyone over on TalkStream Live. Wow. Going well on TalkStream Live. And of course, here on YouTube today. Dang, boys, it's been a good show so far. We've still got half the show to go. So don't go anywhere. And don't go anywhere right after the show either. Well, you can go one place. Paranormal Portal. Because what we tend to do now on a Freaky Friday is we go and raid our good friend Brent after Freaky Friday. We jump off here. We go and hit his YouTube channel. He's also on TFR Live as well. So you can keep going with the two chat rooms. All the woo coming right here on TFRlive.com. And of course, Paranormal Portal will be on his own YouTube channel. And don't forget, Brent does shows every night of the week. You can catch him there 7 days a week on YouTube, delivering you woo day after day. So, boys, we're going to dive back into it now. Last night, Scotty, we played a couple of minutes of an interview that Daniel, the dark journalist, had done with the wife of somebody called David Zink. Mind-blowing. I went and listened to it all again after the show last night, and it was talking about Bimini, it was talking about ancient technology, it was talking about all the crystal stuff we'd been on about, the anomalies. Kevin, at one point they were talking about how it was said that you had to be very careful down around Bimini when it was the solstice, because this was when they suspected, and it kind of bears out when you look at some of the people that have gone missing, the craft, the ships. A lot of activity happens around the solstice period, and they think it's something to do with the crystal that Edgar Casey had prophesized would be found or would be located in the region of Bimini way before anyone was talking about this road thing and stuff like that. So this kind of sets us up for a little trip to the Caribbean and to see what all the fuss is about with this Bimini Road, and then I'll get the guy's opinion whether or not we are looking at Atlantis, or is it just some outpost of a greater Atlantean global civilization. So it says here, off the coast of Bimini lies an ancient stone formation submerged beneath crystal blue waters. The mysterious path makes many wonder if it is remnants of the mythical lost land of Atlantis. Researchers, geologists, archaeologists, and scientists alike have visited and studied the huge flat stones off the coast of Bimini, known as the Bimini Road. Now, they've tried for years to discern whether the limestone blocks are a natural phenomenon or evidence of an ancient lost civilization. There's an image there, and that looks suspiciously like straight lines and measured angles, something that nature doesn't really tend to do, you know?
Very, very angular, perfect 90-degree angles. You generally don't find,
nice
cut.
Nice cut there, so it fits perfectly on the ends.
Oh yeah, the 45-degree cut, so you can fit the edges together. Yeah. Come on, Kev. Those are just natural formations.
Exactly.
Some really cheeky octopus put that together, Kev. That's what it was.
Now listen, when it comes to the octopi, I might be up for that. That's a good theory. But Bimini is an island in the Bahamas, part of a chain of islands 50 miles east of Miami, Florida. A mere 20 feet down in the blue waters off the coast, a stone path can be found. Large, flat rocks cut at right angles, seemingly set purposefully in straight lines, and this impressive formation stretches half a mile along, with a pronounced hook at one end, and the stones can measure up to 13 feet, which is 4 meters across. According to Unsolved Mysteries in the World, quote, the origin and meaning of Bimini are unknown. However, get this, the name appears in the ancient Egyptian language as Bam-Inini, which means homage to the soul of Min. Min was the Egyptians' divine protector of travellers on far-off journeys, a particularly appropriate god to be worshipped at distant Bimini, and if indeed the island had been visited by voyagers from the Nile Valley. Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. In 1968, subsea archaeologist Joseph Mason Valentine and his diving party encountered the paved road, now called the Bimini Road or Bimini Wall. After their initial discovery, the site was visited often by innumerable divers, researchers, and scientists, further revealing the existence of 2 additional linear features lying nearly parallel to the enigmatic path. Unexplained Mystery writes of the connection between the discovery and American mystic Edgar Cayce, who was said to predict the future events during trances. Quote, another curious element of the mystery is a prediction made in 1938 by Edgar Cayce, which goes, a portion of the temples may yet be discovered under the slime of ages and seawater near Bimini. Expect it in 68 or 69. Not so far away, he said. Wow, the Bimini Road was located in 1968. That's a mic drop moment. Mic drop moment. Some propose as a fulfillment of the prediction of the history of Atlantis would be revealed to the world. And Scott, Kevin, you guys were talking about the Akash. I think Edgar Cayce, when you start to look into him, this guy was tapping into something.
I think so. I mean, from all indications, when he would go into these trances and he would do his clairvoyant stuff or whatever. I mean, and even him himself said it. He believed that he was tapping into the Akashic record, right? So I definitely think he probably was one of these individuals that was receiving some kind of download, or there was definitely some information that was flowing into him at some level. So yeah, definitely.
Big time. You ever looked into him, Nacy, Edgar Cayce?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Edgar Cayce, and he had some really beneficial health remedies that were definitely curtailed. If you curtailed it to your own specifics of ailments, they definitely were helping with your health.
There we go. Pretty amazing stuff. But on you go, man.
But I really like the ideology that with the alleged fall of Atlantis, was Atlantis actually a name for the Earth at this today's civilization? You know, who knows how many hundreds and thousands of years ago, if that, you know, that there was the Atlantis. And it's just that in these certain places, riddles in stone, where they hammer out the past or use different types of hieroglyphs, cuneiforms, you know, iconography to tell these stories and legends and mythos. You know, who's to say? You know, maybe the powers that should not be have been spending many moments to find out, but I don't think they're going to let me know or you know or Scotty know unless we do these fasting and we tap in and try to find those records.
That's our new drinking game. For people out there that play drinking games on a Friday, every time Nathan says the powers that be. I think so, Scott.
Should not be.
The powers that should not be then. Either way, I think that's a drinking game that could get people extremely intoxicated.
Yeah. Hey, look. I tried the drinking game with Popeye's logical fallacy thing, and let me tell you
By
what.
the end of that, it was logical fallacies.
It's not a game you want to play, my friend.
That's for big boys. It's for the adults in the room if you want to go with the powers that shouldn't be drinking game. So it says unexplained mysteries, rights of the connection between the discovery of the American mystic Edgar Cayce, who was, all right, we've done that bit, ancient Greek philosopher and mathematician Plato was the first to write of Atlantis. Now, his records of a cursed island, now that ties in with the whole kind of the curse with the treasure and the pirates and things last week, and it's in the same area. A cursed island out of favour with the gods, plural, small g, is referred to as a parable, warning that hubris and abuse of power may be the undoing of a civilization. Let me rephrase that. I think it will be the undoing of every civilization. But what if the story is more than a teaching tool? What if there truly existed an advanced ancient civilization which was lost to the seas and wiped from our history? So since Plato's tale of Atlantis, many have searched for the doomed city's whereabouts. The existence of a buried Atlantis is possible, and some would insist likely, as throughout history, people and civilizations around the world have suffered terrible cataclysms of tsunamis, volcanic explosions, earthquakes, and other disasters. And may I throw in there that it could well be a cyclical cataclysm that comes along, just saying, and disappeared from the pages of history until rediscovered centuries later. Could Atlantis have suffered a similar fate? I'm going to come back to you boys here. Because when I look at the world today, I'm kind of lucky in many ways because we've got a heck of a lot of old architecture and old buildings in Glasgow. Edinburgh's the same, but when you look at all the new stuff that's going up, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it looks pretty cool, all these glass buildings, but when I'm thinking like millennia down the line, are we going to be a civilization that people argue over whether we even existed or not?
That's very interesting, and I've thought of this as well, right? Like, all of our modern construction involves, like steel and stuff like that, and over time, steel rusts, and then it eventually just basically turns into powder, right?
Even worse, we're now building houses out of like renewable kind of organic materials, dude.
Yeah, and now everything's moving towards the sustainable building where everything's biodegradable and it all just breaks back down into the into the soil, into the ground. And so, is there going to be like any trace of our structures in the future? I mean, we obviously there's going to be a trace of our current society that's going to be found, right? I mean, we produce a lot of plastics and stuff that don't break down, and there's plenty there to be found. But when it comes to like the infrastructure of our buildings and everything, I mean, look, even our highways and stuff, right? That's all concrete. And what is
our
concrete?
roads today need resurfaced every couple of years because they're falling apart.
Yeah, our roads are already disintegrating, just on a year-to-year basis. And so if you think like over time, when they're completely not maintained, and we're talking about hundreds of hundreds of thousands of years into the future, or whatever, there's going to be nothing left. That concrete's going to break back down into rock. I mean, because all concrete is essentially mud and dirt that is, compressed and, into a hard form, like a brick, essentially. But yeah, that'll all break down. And going to Speculation Island and throwing some woo out there, I threw out the idea of what if that's why the surface of Mars is filled with rust? What if we were talking about a advanced civilization of towering skyscrapers built of steel and all of this material, and as it broke down throughout the years, all you're left with is a layer of rust and rock that covers the planet. Who knows?
I just listened to the franchise of Transformers and Cybertron.
Good movies, man. Good movies.
Which basically was a metal planet. And so if you talk about rusting, a metal planet, and didn't they come down in asteroids or meteorites? And out of them came... But it's funny when we talk about concrete, because allegedly the formula of concrete was disrupted, and now on our highways we're actually using asphalt. And what is asphalt? But it's a combination of petroleum and concrete. And so like you were saying, it constantly has to be resurfaced or retarred, or all our highways are retarded.
Yeah. And so, yeah. But look at the structures that do manage to stick around, right? The megalithic structures, those are the ones that have withstood the test of time, right? And those are the ones that... those are ones that are built out of just the existing rock and material that is there, and essentially the only thing that is really going to affect any of those sites is erosion, right? And that takes like millions of years to accomplish, to erode through large granite blocks like that. So
unless they get the big boy on the simulation, and they just go full, they go for a full Monty patch on the fly, dude. It'll be like, whoa, pixels, buildings disappearing, new ones appearing. Whoa, man, they're patching us out. There's a new build coming over the top of us. Oh,
It was like, oh dang, the update's going live. The update's going live. Who knows, man? So yeah, that is an interesting thing to think about, though. Like our modern construction, like really, how much longevity does that really have? I don't think it has the longevity of a let's just say of a pyramid at Giza. That's longevity, my friend. When we're talking about a structure that we don't even know how old the damn thing is, I'd say they did a pretty darn good job of building that thing.
Bet you Astana's got buildings that are made to last.
Oh.
Of course, it's not called Astana anymore. It's called, is it not New Sultan? Something like that? Yeah, something like that, I think it's called now.
Talking about this Bimini thing and Atlantis
yes,
and all
nice,
that.
Thank you. Awesome.
Did you know that Ernest Hemingway's brother tried to start his own country out in the Bahamas, and he was going to name it New Atlantis?
Oh, what? You see, he knew. He knew something. What did he know? That's the question. And he would have been in the know, right? Right?
I would think.
I would say so. I would say. So it says here, oh, now, how far have we got? So the existence, we got that. Skeptics think not and dismiss the connection between the Bimini Road and Atlantis. Well, skeptics tend to do that. Consensus among conventional geologists who drilled core samples of the Bimini rocks is that a natural phenomenon, or that it's a natural phenomenon. They explain that the beach rock has been weathered by erosion, the tides scouring the eroding lines and edges into the limestone along natural joints, as it does so in other locations around the world. Where on earth is there other natural locations where you see like a road going into a horseshoe coming down the other side, big huge blocks that are evenly spaced and nice right angles? Come on, man.
Yeah, well, we all know that natural water erosion creates perfect 90-degree joints and all of that, because we all know that that's how our rivers look, right, Kev? I mean, we've all been to the river that has a perfect 90-degree angle on it, and
absolutely, Scott, absolutely. Anything other than that, and I'd be shouting shenanigans. It would be obvious we're living in a simulation, you know. So it's safe here,
Only
right?
if water.
When you go,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Only if water was an sentient being and it was creating its own anomalies as a collective could it possibly have made straight edges.
Why not, dude? If we're going to go that far, if we're going to go for the sea, listen, why not? Why not? We're at the bottom. We might as well go to the bottom of the Mariana Trench tonight, folks. This is like no rabbit hole that we've been down before.
The water is alive.
I was going to say.
What?
Water is life.
They say seas, water spirits. Oh, kelpies, mermaids, mermam.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
I said ma'am, you absolute. Clean your ears out. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, it says here, they explain that the bedrock, we're about to get some genius science here, right? You ready, folks? They explain that the beach rock has been weathered by erosion. And the tides scouring, eroding lines and edges, right? All natural rock, natural joints. So it does in other locations around the globe. We had that. Further, they suggest that any tool marks found on the site are not evidence of ancient stoneworking. No. But instead the result of tourists and investigators chipping away at the rocks for souvenirs or research. Of course they did. Not all have been satisfied with the mainstream theories. The expeditions have been mounted to solve the riddle of the Bimini Road. And it says Sci-Fi Channel did an investigation and documentary on the underwater formation in 2006. Wikipedia notes that the quest for Atlantis, startling new secrets focused on the legend of Atlantis, highlighting the Bimini Road. A team of researchers dived at Bimini Bay and reported discovering an entire second layer of square-cut rocks with similar dimensions beneath the stones. Again, must just be natural, right? This suggested to the researcher that the road may have been part of a larger wall or a water dock. Starting to sound like Oak Island and a bit of a kind of a wharf going on there, you know? There are
a little bit of a mystery going on over at Bimini.
Yeah, were the stones carefully and purposefully placed by an ancient civilization? I think so. Which was plunged into obscurity by cataclysm, or did the rocks just erode into perfect shapes through the actions of time and the sea? The sea's alive, like the Bimini Road. The mystery continues, boys and girls, ladies and gents, ancient Atlanteans, time travelers, interdimensional creepers, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are. We're coming up on a break soon, Scotty boy. But I see you're just absolutely on the edge of the chair there to get into Atlantis, man.
Well, this Bimini stuff, right? The Bimini Road. It also makes me think of those underwater structures that they found off the coast of Japan as well, right? And the mainstream science tries to say that was also a natural formation, when obviously that's not a natural formation. And you see once again these perfect 90-degree angles, and if I'm correct that those structures off the coast of Japan are like giant stairs or something, right? I mean, it's very, very interesting. But going
off
back
the coast of the United Kingdom, isn't there also anomalies?
I think so. There's anomalies all over the world. There's a lot of these locations where it appears that you have these structures, these megalithic structures that are underwater. And I mean, we talk about the stuff that Randall Carlson talks about. I mean, at one point, the sea level was 400 feet lower. So a lot of this stuff may have, may have been above the surface of the water at one point, and something cataclysmic happened, and it's all underwater now, man. And we will be right back, everyone. So stay tuned.
There you go. There you go. I thought you were going to delegate that one to me. Listen, there's somebody in the chat room called Cider or Thither. Look, I get you think you've got something huge to share, but can I just ask you to be reasonable? We're like doing a 3-hour show here. We're going out on YouTube. We're going out on TFR. We're going out on other networks. I tend to think, as somebody who watches a lot of live streams, I think this channel, we do more than most to actually interact with the audience. But that doesn't mean you can just be a pain and just keep going and going and going. I've seen you mentioning Google your name or Google a couple of names. Listen, I'll take a note of that and I'll do it. But please, be reasonable, dude. And if the blue wrenches kick you out, then usually it means you have to take a look at what you've been acting like, okay? So, cool. I'll get to it. I'll look at it. But we're in the middle of a damn good show right now. So, chill. Chill. Breathe. It's all good. And listen, if it's that important, maybe you need a bigger channel, because I'm just Freaky Friday. We're only speaking to 150 people here. So chill. Cool your beans, man. Just, lower it down. Have a chill pill. Have a red pill, I've got the hat on back to front. You're talking to Dave. Can't mess with Dave's mojo on a Friday, I don't know, Scott, I don't know. I'm trying to drink my juice with the lid on now. That's going to be one of these nights for the last hour, Scott. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder, man, about these sites. And going back to like Plato, right? When he was discussing it as an island, what I think Plato was probably doing was discussing an island of the Atlantean civilization, as opposed to the Atlantean civilization being confined to just that island, right? I think he was describing at least a cataclysm that occurred in this, at that particular location of maybe an Atlantean outpost, right? But I definitely believe that Atlantis was a world-dominating empire, if you will, and that they were, there was Atlantean cities all over the place, right? So I think that like the Eye of Africa is one of these locations, and we've discussed that before. That's definitely one of those locations to where it's like, how would that be a natural formation, right? And it has that concentric circle look to it. And then when you see the descriptions of what an Atlantean city would look like, it's described as being built with these concentric circles, and I don't know, man. There's a lot of
Hey.
Cannabis Resolution donated $4.99 through Super Chat. The powers that should not be. PPP share the giggles.
Indeed, Naysay.
Look, John. Nobody's banning what you're saying. Appears I have practiced bad guys from World War II censorship still. Okay, so I've been accused of that before. Thanks for informing me that. I've one shot at this to tell you the Bible prophecy that's big. Dude, if it's that big, I'm speaking to 150 people. Get a grip, will you? Dang, man. Oh, jeez Louise. Let's bring it back. There's only so much you can take, honestly.
Look, you can always contact Begley.
Yeah. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to what is developing into a really bizarre episode of Freaky Friday. Your friend George Orwell is in the chair now. Forget Dave, forget Kev. I'm Orwell, dude. I'm Orwell. I am the 1984. I'm the censor. I am the silencer of people. Yes. Yes. The chalice of
Connie G
censorship.
donated $5 through Super Chat. Frequencies must be buzzed in high, please and thank you. Love yous.
Right, so today, allegedly, folks,
Thanks, Connie.
is next to the last chapter of the Bible prophecy on 23rd of September 2017. Well, I think we got way past that big hyped up September that I certainly went way overboard for. That was an exciting ride at the time, but no man knows the hour.
Nope.
I think
no man knows the hour.
I think there's a famous book that tells us all that no man or woman or whatever the 148 other identifiers that we use nowadays are, none of them. No. None of them know the hour, Scotty boy. Nope.
How many raptures and end of the worlds and apocalypses have we survived, Kev?
Oh, you see, John, this is why you don't do this. You shouldn't put dates out. You shouldn't put dates out, because now I'm going to do a show on the 15th of March and say, look, we're
Don't
still
tell
here.
me he said. Don't tell me he said the 14th. Did he?
Oh, well, no. Denise ain't going to tell us now it is the 14th. What's going on, Nacy? What's happening?
Okay.
What do you got? What do you got, Nacy?
Okay, so I am heading. I'm a little nervous about disclosing this, but what the hell, huh? It's exciting life. I am heading to the Serpent Mounds next week to do ceremony and ritual on the 13th, on the day of stopping my 10-day fast. I'm going for 10 days this equinox. And as I'm looking at the date lines and the sunrise and the sunset, there's a strange anomaly that happens on the 14th, but it's daylight savings time. And so it throws a monkey wrench into the whole calculation of the length of sunlight to nighttime, because we jump ahead an hour. Therefore, on Saturday night into Friday night of next week, the 13th to the 14th, the length of the day is going to be 13 hours of night with just under 12 hours of day. So it's just, yeah, who knows? Who knows? But,
I know.
Live your life.
I don't know much, but I know we'll be here on the 15th, dude.
Well, this is the thing. If you break apart the apocalypse, all it means is the unrevealing. So at any moment in each individual entity's life, they could have an apocalyptic knowing, where they realized their ignorance was so damn extreme that it shook their snowball up and they can't handle the truth.
Mm.
I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write it in the book. The book of Kev, man. It's going in the book. It's going in the book.
Many times in my experiences of going down the rabbit holes.
Listen, folks, listen. You know why I'm so confident, or maybe let me rephrase that. Do you know why I'm so keen for the world not to finish on the 14th? Because on Monday the 15th on the Kev Baker Show, we're going to be joined by two amazing experts from Australia. We are going to be getting into our forbidden and forgotten origins and our alien ancestry with Evan and Stephen Strong. And listen, the quantum mechanic, as Jimmy affectionately kind of calls me, I've had a look. Listen, when I had Andy Bishago on the show, we got tight. He gave me the chronovisor. I've peeked into the future. That show goes well. Now, admittedly, Scott, we might flip timelines between then because divergent timelines are a thing in 2020. Woo. So, hey, maybe.
I'm just
that
saying,
show better go ahead.
There's other YouTube channels out there that specifically cater to this kind of information.
Seriously?
Right? I'm seriously. Seriously.
And like I was trying to share earlier, in my 25 years of trying to find the truth, there has been many, many times when I've realized my own stupidity of going down that hole of the rabbit.
We've been down them together, Kev, haven't we? Me and you. I mean, we didn't talk as much as we do now because we were just consumers of the great content and the great guests that Chris and Cherie would bring together. But listen, for every rabbit hole you went down, bro, I'd have been right there by your side. You know that. I mean, the parallels between our lives are quite uncanny anyway, from the military, the type of service we done, to the PPP, to the woo that we're into. Dude, we were there. And then imagine Scotty Boy, since 2009 onwards. He would have been right there with us as well because he listens to the same stuff as us. And he's, you see, that's why me and Scott are jaded now. Evan, this is what's happened to us. We've been down these rabbit holes too many times before. It's knocked the edges off us when we've tumbled down, Scott, isn't it? To the point where now I'm just a crazy old skeptical debunker.
Is it going to be one of these situations to where it's like the boy who cried wolf, you know, and then the one day when like
14th of March, I'm going to be kissing my ass goodbye, man.
Your edges.
The big ass meteors coming in and like we can actually see it like, you know, in the sky coming in, and me and Kev would still be like skeptical. We're like, yeah, I don't know. Is that really a meteor?
You know, listen, Nacy, listen. My good friend ZX, who is the boss of the disco, he's got it right. Forget it. What are we worried about? Because in a quantum state, the Earth is created and ends every Planck unit of time. It's just none of us are paying attention. That's because we're all just here in a dream, ladies and gentlemen. We're all just here in a dream. Some of us have woken up in the dream and we've realized it. That's what it is.
Well, and basically, when we decide individually to release this husk of physical being, you know, it's not the end, because it's been proven time and time again that energy cannot be destroyed. It just moves from one place to the other, you know. So how exciting is it, you know, to continue experiencing life, and then the reward we get is death. And not that I'm wishing it upon anyone, you know, but, you know, live your life to the fullest, because this is the only life you have at this present moment.
Yeah, before you go to the next level. And, you know, hopefully it's
respawn,
the level up, man. The level down.
Respawn in Cyberpunk. Oh, no, this is even more glitchy than the last place.
Cyberpunk. What a disappointment that turned out to be.
It works fine on my PC. There is glitches, admittedly, but not like what other people experienced. You know.
For $19.99, you need to get that expansion pack.
That's it, dude. Yep. I'm telling you, man. Look, when I think we talked simulation theory last night, but this ties in with civilizations rising and falling. I think of games like the whole Age of Empires, these simulation games where you literally start out from the Stone Age, you work your way up, and eventually, you're building spaceports and stuff like that. And I get it, I get it. It's easy to compare things to games. It doesn't mean anything. But I don't know, it just fits too well with the way we talk about these civilizations coming and going. You see in the game, the old buildings just kind of, and then your guys start building the new ones in the new style, and they all build up, but all that code, it's still all floating about in there. It might not be any remnants per se, no physical stuff, but you get me? Listen, those characters in those games might be real, They got feelings too.
Well, all I know is that many a peasant and warrior in Age of Empires have died horribly at my hands throughout the years, and so.
I mean, did you ever seek consent from your avatar before you launched them into war? 50
and
times
what
a
if
day?
when you get to
did you? No, I'm being deadly serious now, folks. I want to be the champion of non-player character rights. Hey.
And what if you got to the pearly gates and they said, Scotty Lopez, we were going to let you up here in heaven, but do you know how many entities you killed in Warcraft?
Oh my goodness!
There'll be a pile of orcs. There'll be orcs waiting to see you, man.
Orcs' lives matter.
Oh my God, Kev! I just now realized if we're going down this route, how many victims have fallen in Call of Duty?
To me, not many. Handful. I've not got many to worry about, Scott. You on the other hand.
Yeah. Oh dear.
That's industrial type numbers, man. You must be up there with like Mao. Do you know what I mean?
Well, let's add woo to that.
Go for it, Kev. Bring us to the woo. Do it, man.
So, what if all of these games were created so they could do a psychological profile on all the entities of the earth, so when Nibiru comes back around, it's easier to select who shall be used as food sources and who gets to remain?
That went really dark, man. Macy went for the full Diablo upgrade. Do you see that? See how he done that there? He's playing the game as Anton LaVey out there or something. Bloody hell, Macy. Come on, man.
Well, they need to make another Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone.
Wasn't the Philosopher's Stone
a thing?
Wasn't that sort of like it might have been a thing? But
it was definitely a thing, right?
Wasn't that the ultimate alchemical thing? Like that was like the thing that the alchemist was trying to achieve. That was like the pinnacle.
It's basically the turning of your lead into gold. It says mercury into gold here. Funny they go for mercury, and then you've got these pyramids with the mercury underneath them and things.
And it's in retrograde.
Well,
yeah. And then they say that the Anunnaki came down here for what? Oh, gold. Oh boy, oh boy. And that David Zink interview that we listened to yesterday about Bimini and Atlantis, you won't believe this, but his wife started talking about how the Anunnaki came here, the Palladians came here, but only when the Palladians came here, because of the frequency and because of the vibration, they came here energetically. And the Australians are going to love this, right? The Australians are going to love this, right? Because they talk about the shining ones that came down from the sky, didn't they? Like light beings. That's the Palladians, man. All this stuff connects back together to the Bimini and to Australia. And you see how you see a pareidolia. It's one of the two, you know.
Remember that one of the similarities between the ancient worlds of South America and the Middle East and Egypt is that the rulers would powder themselves with gold every day. So they would be literally the shiny ones.
It's crazy that when you think about it, Kev, isn't it? It is, though. And our fascination with gold, there's something in our DNA, man.
Here's another interesting thing, just throwing it out there. If you were to powder yourself with gold, right? Wouldn't you have essentially created a Faraday cage around yourself?
Yes. And not only that, but gold is antimicrobial, where bacteria, fungus, and viruses can't survive. Oh, dang it. I said that V word. Sorry.
Right. But no, you're right. I mean, because copper has that same property, and so does silver. But yeah, gold has that effect as well. So from a hygiene standpoint, there's a benefit there. But I don't know, that just kind of popped in my head. Like, you know, if you're covering yourself with basically a metallic powder, right? You've essentially blocked any kind of signal or anything that could interfere with your body. You know, you've created a Faraday cage around yourself. So it makes you wonder, like, if these elites back then, you know, these royals or whatever, knew that there was some kind of property to that, like as a form of protection.
Could it also be like a lightning rod cause you to absorb a certain type of energy?
Could be. I think Jimmy Jeans was here. He would offer us this very, very good explanation. And he would say possibly they were trying to turn themselves into a giant hat because we done the whole golden hat thing. It sounds like I'm having a laugh making up, but stick with me. Like, you're literally turning yourself into a giant antenna. So listen, and if you want to know more about the old monoatomic gold, you know who's really clued up on this stuff is Anthony Patch. He talks about it in reference to technology, the Ooga Boogas, very clued up on that stuff, I have to admit. And Anthony, I believe, is still on YouTube. I think. I've not checked in a while, but I think he's still over here. But guys, listen, guess who's in the chat room? The man himself, Brent Thomas. He's warming up. His ears must be burning because we promote him that much every Friday. I'm starting to feel like a bit like his pimp. You know what I'm saying? You better get those numbers up, Brent. You get those numbers up, man, and I'll be giving you the pimp hand. Next Friday the 13th, boy, I'll be sorting you out. Come on now. Folks, listen, check out the Paranormal Portal right after today's Freaky Friday. I was about to say Kev Baker show, but it's Friday. It felt wrong even going to say that. So yes, we'll be Jimmy in the chat room. I thought he was going to say, yes, Kev, they're trying to turn themselves into giant antennas, but he didn't offer me that. But yeah, stay tuned for that, folks. So where are we going now, boys? Where do we go now?
I'm going to put my dunce cap on and go into the corner.
No. You see, this is another thing that I learned the other night. Did you guys know, because I learned this from Jimmy, that the dunce cap, it was actually back in the day, and I believe it was around the time of, I want to say 1200s or 1600s, but it was a Scottish guy, and a guy called Duns. He came from a place called Duns, but the dunce hat was actually a sign of intellect and intelligence.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then when he passed, he actually had his own like people following him. They were called Dunsmen, And then when he passed, hundreds of years later, they started to say that they ridiculed it. So it was like, oh no, that's stupid, that's pseudoscience, that kind of stuff. But at one point, he was like one of the scientific type of advisors to royalty, and you know what I'm saying? So the dunce cap, I always thought it was the sign of stupidity, but it actually comes from a sign of intellect. There you go. Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy Jeans brought that one up. There you go. See?
It's another one of them things that kind of got reversed in its meaning.
The cone, there's many different perspectives. You can look at the cone and the possibilities of it. You've read about the Coral Castle down in Florida. There's allegations that people witnessed him using cones to move these huge, blocks of coral.
Well, how about in Russia? I remember seeing a documentary where they were doing experiments where they were growing tomato plants, some of them inside a very conical shaped pyramid, way different from the ones we're used to seeing in Egypt. These were more upright and like a wizard's hat, four-sided wizard's hat, you know? And then they would grow the tomato plants outside. And it was crazy, boys. These tomatoes were like absolutely the best thing since you've ever seen tomatoes. The ones outside, just ordinary. And the yield of seeds and everything, it was just multiplied. I want to say tenfold. It was that noticeable, though. So it's almost as if maybe that is something that focuses energy, you know?
I think so. I think that shape is a natural... It's just kind of the natural way that energy wants to flow, you know, if it encounters it. Just like with everything else, it looks for the path of least resistance. And I think that shape is like a path of least resistance, and it allows for it to focus and at the very pinnacle of a pyramidal shape is where all of the energy focuses on. So
well, Donnie has got a message for you, Nacy. He says, "Get off the bush telegraph, dude." He says, "You're talking away him. You're taking thoughts out of his head by the sounds of it." Coral Castle, boys. I remember I first heard about that place, coast to coast. Can't remember who was talking about it, but that was one when I was out patrolling at work. I'm like clock watching. When's my next break? When's my next break? It was like before before smartphones, you had to go to a PC to get online type thing. Do you know what I'm saying? As soon as I got my tea break, I'm Googling this place. I'm like, wow. But that's a mystery unto itself, right? The whole Coral Castle, how he done it.
Yeah, nobody knows exactly how he did it. There's some general kind of ideas of maybe some of the tools or the methods that he may have employed to try and move some of these things. And I believe there was also a report that maybe I heard that some kids or something had peeked over a wall and watched him trying to do this, and he ran him off, you know, because he was very secretive and didn't want anybody.
Yeah, well, secretive.
Well, even to the extent of where I recall that one block rectangularly was placed so precise that if you pushed it at either side, it would like spin kind of like a revolving door.
Yeah, exactly.
He made a revolving door that was so perfectly balanced that, you know, the stone weighed in the tons. Yeah, it weighed in the tons, but you could open it with one hand. You could just push it open with one hand, and it rotated around just in a very smooth, balanced way. It's crazy.
Yeah, if I'd known about that place when I was in the army, I would have demanded that was one of the places we go. I'd have absolutely demanded we go and see this place.
It'd be like the kid wanting to go to like the amusement park, but Kev's like, "Can I go to the Coral Castle? I want to see the Coral Castle."
Why I'm glad they never sent me to the Middle East, man. Bad things could have happened. I'd have been too busy sightseeing and looking at old buildings and Oh, look, you know, ding, gone.
Kev would have wandered off into the desert somewhere and found the Stargate or something.
I would have come face to face with the giant of Kandahar. Ladies and gentlemen, the giant of Kandahar. Now, there's a story. And I'm going to be asking Brad Olson about the giant of Kandahar on Wednesday night when he comes on to the Kev Baker show.
What an excellent person to ask about the giant. I'm sure Brad will.
It's like my first time again, dude. It's been that long since I've had him on the show. It's like my first time again. I'm all super excited, man. Yeah.
Brad's an awesome dude, man. He's an awesome guy.
I like him a lot.
Talk about somebody steeped in woo, just like us.
And been down to see the penguins at the bottom of the planet.
Yep. Yes, he has.
Or the top.
Or the top, yeah. You see, that thing, I was going to say that to you, Kev, when you brought that up. I'm into sci-fi, obviously. People have guessed that if they don't already know it. But when you talk about, like, space flight, space maneuvers, and then space battles, it's really hard for us to get an appreciation for what that must be like when what is up, down, left, and right, where you're just literally, you know what I mean? You're just hanging there, man. It's a whole different ball game. And some of the sci-fi books I'm talking about, even with the weapons traveling at the speed of light, Scott, it's like, it's donkeys. It's you're firing, and it's donkeys till they get there and that. And you're just thinking, it's those vast distances, it doesn't compute. It doesn't compute, dude.
Have you read that book, Ender's Game?
Oh, yeah, we're going to come back after the break, after I pick my jaw up off the ground. I'll tell you when we come back. Folks, one segment to go, and then we pass the chalice of woo over to my number one boy, Brent Thomas. Go check him out. He's on the Paranormal Portal.
Paranormal Portal.
He talks to dead people.
And lots of cryptos.
And I tell you what, not once have I even hovered over Mr. Nace tonight, Scott.
Look at that. You've been very, very consistent, my friend.
In the year of 2020.
That's because there's no subconscious mic on the braids.
I'm not. I apologize. I got semi-triggered on the last break, but I dealt with it with comedy, I hope. It's just, you know, guys, sometimes when you're doing the show and you see somebody disrupting the chat, being all demanding and needy, you know.
You get these people that like
me.
Yeah, like they want to be the center of attention and all of that stuff, and it's like
we're the center of attention, aren't we? All three of us. Yeah, you know, when get in place. Narcissist I am. Or is it a bad guy from World War II? There's a fine line between a narcissist and another N-word, you know?
You're a bad guy from World War II putting the jackboot on everybody, Kev. You're a horrible, horrible person.
I know.
Censorship.
I really need to wind back on how dictatorial I am around here, you know? I say...
Sorry that Kev couldn't drop everything and make the entire show about your groundbreaking apocalyptic information.
Well, I didn't know that when I became blind that I inadvertently joined the not high seas party.
That's not the real Kev, that's a clone. The real Kev is AWOL wandering around the desert with Moses still looking for the promised land, and now they're both lost. Geraldine, I love you. That's awesome. I like that little comment there. We've got Super coming in.
Manna.
Yeah, I tell you, what do you make of that? What was Manna then? There's a good question. What was that Manna that kept them going?
I think Manna was...
Patrick Belmar donated $5 through Super Chat.
Patrick Belmar.
The woo is for all of you.
Hey, Patrick, thank you very much. So, Scotty, Manna, what do you think?
I think Manna is some kind of energetic sustenance of some sort that is only reserved for the gods, but maybe bestowed upon lower beings if deemed necessary or whatever.
Sounds like somebody was kicking about a replicator to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I also feel that Manna is probably close. Like I hold these two kind of in the same category, like Manna and ambrosia, right? Because wasn't ambrosia like this elixir of the gods, or it had the same sort of effect, I guess you could say, as Manna in a way? It was almost like a rejuvenating elixir of youth or whatnot, or
Time
sustenance.
for the elixir of TFR. I apologize. Here we go.
20 seconds.
There we go. Yes, we are back. We are live. But I can't fight with that song, so I'm going to come back in just a second. I can't fight that one. There's just some you can fight with, but not that one.
I don't know what to say about Manna.
Final segment of today's Freaky Friday. Right here. On Truth Frequency Radio Network, TFRlive.com. It's all gone a bit cray-cray about here. This is the kind of Friday I hoped we would have. I hope you're enjoying it out there. And listen, we've only got you going because right after this show, the party continues and it's going to be good fun. It'll be good woo. It'll continue the kind of freaky stuff with Brent Thomas and Dawn, the team over at the Paranormal Portal. Please, if you haven't checked them out, listen, I know sometimes listening to Freaky Friday, 3 hours can be a lot, but it's just like a continuation and the woo gets deeper and better all night long here on TFR Live. And of course, you can find Brent over on his YouTube channel, the Paranormal Portal, every single night. You can get his podcast on every single platform you can think of. And I think the last time I was speaking to him, he was #1 or heading for #1. I can't remember what South American country it was, but listen, Brent deserves all the luck in the world, all the respect in the world, because I tell you, as somebody who creates content and been doing it for years, Brent is tireless and he's always there night after night. It's routine and I love checking in any chance I get. And if you're into this show, if you're into KBS, if you're into TFR, it's a no-brainer. So please make today that day that you check him out. And Scotty, and of course Nacy now, we're going to have to find out when the next 13th is. I'm going to have a look, right? Because we always do our 5 hours of woo-a-thon with the Paranormal Portal boys. It's time. Right?
Yeah, and it's always fantastic whenever we get together and do our little 5-hour woo extravaganza.
Wow, August, dude. August.
Yeah, this year it's like not, I think we only get one shot this year at a Friday the 13th. So we'll definitely have that.
Try to. Sorry, Scotty. Maybe we should try to come up with a special occasion just to have the excuse to do it before August.
That's what I was discussing with Kev. I'm like, maybe we're going to have to just make up a Friday the 13th sometime.
Well, like I say, that Brent better start pulling his weight and getting his numbers up, or I'll be pimp-handing him. So, I don't know about that. But during the break, I think this is a good question we could get into here for the final segment. Manna from heaven. What on earth's name is that all about? So I was asking the guys. Scotty, I'll come to you again. In fact, we'll go to Nacy, and then we'll come to you, Scotty, right? And, I mean, I've got no idea. I was talking about replicators, Nacy. But what do you think when you hear about this manna from heaven, dude?
Well, as we can refresh our memories about it, when Moses went out into the desert after fleeing Egypt or the Exodus, that part of their survival was on manna that was given from the heavens. for substance. And there's been many speculations, of course, from my higher consciousness. Of course, you can imagine where I think manna is created from. But, speculation, it definitely would be something that's not of normalcy just because of the way it's described. Now, what would be phenomenal is if we could figure out how to replicate or create manna for us today, because would that be a really good marketing on how much do you charge for a packet of manna?
No, I'm telling you, dude, the old manna thing. Scotty boy, what are we thinking, man? What are we thinking?
I think we are talking of something that probably is not of this earth, right? Is not of this realm, and it is either some kind of sustenance that is created by some technology that we don't understand, and it's able to have this life-sustaining. It's essentially the sustenance we need in its like purest form or something. I don't know how I would explain it, but I find it very similar to like ambrosia that is discussed in Greek mythology, right? We're talking about some kind of a sustenance or an elixir or something that has this amazing rejuvenating and life-sustaining effect on the human body, and it doesn't require us to consume food in the
Would
traditional.
You say it literally nourishes the soul?
Yeah, it's almost like it's an energetic boost as opposed to like a raw nutrient boost. It's something that is actually like like you said, like it's nourishing the soul or the consciousness or just everything energetically about your body, which if that's the case, then any other effect of your body is going to, your body's going to heal itself and do all of, whatever issues you may be having are going to resolve if you're boosting at that core energetic level. So I
thought that kind of quantum healing thing works as well. It's quite fascinating when you start getting into that.
When I get to day 5, 6, 7 of my fast, I start pondering of the possibility of us being socially conditioned to think we need to eat as frequently as we do. Because I start pondering, like, can we be like a plant and just absorb the energy of light?
That's what I've been saying with the whole genetic tinkering, Can we give ourselves the genes and then we can do photosynthesis, A few chlorophyll producing kind of genes in you, Scotty?
There's a practice in the Hindu religion where there's these yogis or that claim that they don't need to eat and that they're nourished by the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe one of these guys was even tested, like they observed him to make sure, he wasn't like sneaking food or trying to pull some kind of a hoax. And the dude literally, like, he doesn't eat.
Well, Scary Mary has brought it up before about Paharanda Yogananda.
Yep.
In his book, Autobiography of a Yogi, he talks about all of these different practitioners of yogi that have these supernatural, for lack of a better term, occurrences.
Kev, I mean, we're talking about like people that we've got witnesses to them bilocating and things like that. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets so fascinating with my ancestral stories that were told about the same thing happening. And this is part of why I do the rituals and the ceremonies that I do, because the woo that I experience during these occurrences are sometimes just so baffling that I can't explain it.
And going to the fasting thing that Nase was talking about, you know, I've done fasting before when I was doing when I was on my diet, which I got to get back on actually. But I was doing occasional fasting, and when you're fasting, man, your whole mindset starts to shift. It's a very interesting thing to experience. You I don't know what it is, but it just seems like your brain kind of starts to shift into a different mode when you're kind of deep into a fasting situation, and
it's called starvation.
Yeah, I guess.
No,
yeah,
I'm joking.
it is.
I'm joking.
No,
dude.
I mean, no. I mean, actually, it is in a way, but what it is it's because, you know, ancient humans or whatever, when we were in hunter-gatherer mode, right? There were days you didn't eat. You weren't eating a meal every day, because if you didn't manage to catch that deer or antelope or whatever you were trying to hunt, you were coming home empty-handed and you didn't have anything to eat. So when your body kind of goes into that hunger mode, your brain starts going into a more hyper awareness mode. And like your reaction times, and you start thinking a little more clearly, because now your brain is firing on all cylinders to really make sure that the next time you go and hunt, that you're successful. Right? So you're not sluggish, and you're not gonna miss next time, because, you know, you keep missing on the hunt, you are going to starve to death eventually. So your brain really starts kind of going into a hyper focused mode. And I think, you know, if you engage in healthy fasting in a diet, that's why you all of a sudden feel like your brain, you start thinking a little more clearly. You remember, Kev, when I was doing the keto diet, I always kept saying, man, I feel like I'm thinking more clear. I don't feel as groggy. And it's just that occasional fasting, I think, contributed to that, and it puts you in that mode. So, you know, there's benefits to that. So you got to wonder, if you get these yogis that have achieved this level to where they don't even have to eat, what level is their brain operating on? Like this hyper awareness, sensitivity mode, you know, that's when I think you're like unlocking areas of your brain that probably
they're like living in the mountainous stargates we talk about. Most of them have taken vows of silence. The only noises they probably hear is the perfect universal tone of a every so often, where they're chanting and things like that. Who knows what level of consciousness these boys are on, eh? And we look at them, you know, you think to yourself, oh, look at them living in the mountains, you know, very primitive existence. And they're looking at all of us going, oh, look at those idiots, man. Look at them. They don't get it at all,
Donnie,
you know?
Donnie in the chat, he said you hunt on an empty stomach. He said that was the way he was taught.
Yep, and Luna added to that. She said if you fast, you're fast when you go hunting.
Yes.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's a fact. That is a fact. It shifts you into that, kind of shifts you into that survival mode. You know, you thinking on your toes, you're ready for anything to go down.
Ready for the zombie apocalypse, man. The Walking Dead's back. Walking Dead's back. You watch that, Scott, you know? Not a fan of the zombie shows, Nacy? Fan of zombies? No.
I live in a zombie world. If you start talking to people beyond my household.
Well, this is very true. This is very true. Living in the East End of Glasgow, I often say that getting on a bus looks like I've just kind of hitched a ride with a bunch of extras for The Walking Dead. I'm only joking, Glaswegians. I'm only joking. Only joking. It's me that looks like I'm just out The Walking Dead.
Before we go, I got a couple of stories pulled up here.
Can I add one quick thing, Scotty?
No.
Real quick. If I could ask everybody, could you send out some energy to my mother who had surgery today? And that she has a speedy recovery and that she's able to receive all of our collective energy. I'd appreciate it.
Big time, big time. Lots of Freaky Friday energy going out to Nace's mum. And I'll get Bill to add her onto the prayer list if that's okay with you for Sunday, Nace.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I hope that all turns out well. So Scotty Lopez is going to take us to the promised land. He's going to lead us through the desert. Yeah.
Well,
Manna from Scotty. Here we go, man.
My mom had actually told me about this, and I thought it would be interesting to bring up on.
Mum woo is usually good. I can, as little Norman Bates here, I can attest to mum woo being good woo. Yep.
I don't know how much woo is contained within this, but I just find it very interesting. So, you talk to a lot of people, and you would think that, this last year was the worst year ever, right? But no, apparently, according to scholars and researchers, 536 AD was a very, very bad year. And it is considered the worst year in human history. And so let's find out why that is. Let's see what made 536 AD.
Nicholas Sturgeon was born. Oh, no.
So wasn't that the Queen's birthday?
Yeah, probably.
It says 2020 has already been immortalized. It is the year that nobody will forget. However, when speaking of the worst year recorded in human history, there are many to choose from. The year 1349 saw the Black Death take out half the population of Europe. In 1512s, smallpox ravaged the Americas and took out between 60 and 90% of the continent's original inhabitants. In 1918, the Spanish coup led to over 50 million people being deleted. And then, you've got stuff that occurred during World War II. And, there's a lot of years where bad things have occurred. But it says, however, historians are unanimous in their choice. The title of the worst year in history is easily held by the year 536 AD. Medieval historian Michael McCormick has stated that it was the beginning of one of the worst periods to be alive, if not the worst year. The year began with an inexplicable dense fog, Kev.
Oh,
that stretched across
boy.
the world. That stretched across the world, which plunged Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia into darkness 24 hours a day for nearly 2 years straight.
That'll do it. You
So
see, we've
2
become
years
far
of
too complacent. When you think about what we've been through the past 18 months, come on, man up.
2 years of darkness, something or something close to that. Said, consequently, global temperatures plummeted, which resulted in the coldest decade in over 2,000 years. Famine was rampant and crops failed all across Europe, Africa, and Asia. Unfortunately, 536 AD seemed to only be a prelude to further misery. This period of extreme cold and starvation caused economic disaster in Europe, and in 541 AD, an outbreak of the bubonic plague further led to 100 million people being deleted, and almost half of the Byzantine Empire. This part of the 6th century has widely been referred to as the Dark Ages, but the true source of this darkness had previously been unknown to scholars. Recently, researchers led by McCormick and glaciologist Paul Mywinski have discovered that a volcanic eruption in Iceland in early 536 led to incredibly large quantities of ash being spread across much of the globe, creating the fog that cast the world into darkness.
That'll be that Fjerkey mountain range that one that put the ash up in the sky not long ago. Fjerkey, Jurken Durken.
Yeah. Herky durky, Jurken Durken.
The ash, the fog.
Yeah, the fog, the mist, the electrically charged ooga boogas. Scott, this is awesome. And a big Freaky Friday shout out to the mother of the Scotty. Yes, Tana in the chat room. Good to see you. Back to you, bro.
Excellent. And it says, so it said the eruption was so immense that it altered the global climate and adversely affected weather patterns and crop cultivation for years to come. So, yeah, it didn't seem like a 536 was a very good year to be alive. And from what my mom was telling me, it wasn't just the volcano in Iceland. There apparently was 2 volcanoes that erupted. Which, if that was the case, then that's a lot of ash and a lot of stuff being ejected into the atmosphere. It makes you wonder how big that volcano was. I mean, if it was enough to completely like blot out the sun, or put at least a haze that really, really dimmed it for 2 years straight, that had to be a big eruption.
I mean, I'd love to go there, but I mean, let's face it, any part of Iceland, you're clinging onto the side of a volcano. That's literally what's sticking out the water there, folks. Lovely place. Did touch down in it for briefly on the way to Canada, Scott, on the way back, but only to run across a runway into a hangar and run back out again. That was it. That's all I've seen of Iceland, dude.
I mean, I guess it's the same. It's the same with Hawaii, right? I mean, you're living on a volcano.
Yeah.
Well, luckily Hawaii's volcano is somewhat, I guess you could say, predictable and stable in its lava flows. Like, it's not an explosive volcano, I guess you could say, as opposed to like Krakatoa. Or something like that.
Vesuvius,
Vesuvius, yeah, I was just thinking that,
What a magical simulation we live in, boys. Look at what we've talked about tonight, We've had ancient civilizations that played the game long ago. They rose, they fall,
We didn't even get to Baker Mayfield in his UFO sighting.
Exactly. There was a plethora of woo for 3 guys that turned up with absolutely nothing. I think we've done pretty well. So again, a big shout out to Tana. Big shout out to my mum. Big shout out to Brent Thomas, who's waiting patiently to take the chalice of woo from us boys here. And trust me, folks, he is going to dial up the paranormal, the woo factor, way past 11. So please head on over to tfrlive.com/chat, or Brent Thomas is on Paranormal Portal YouTube channel. So I'll be back on Sunday with the guys for Warrior Mode, and I'll also be doing our little members stream on YouTube, so keep your eye open for the link for that. We had a super chat coming in there. I'm going to play that just now, guys. Let's see. We got that on there. This comes from somebody called, great name, Mallard the Duck. Yeah, there's a pub. I think there's a pub in Dingwall near my mum called the Mallard. Yeah, if I remember rightly. Mallard the Duck, cool name. But listen, this is a cool message. And this could be the topic of maybe... We could kick off next week's show with this topic. You'll see why. Check this out.
Mallard the Duck donated $5 through Super Chat. God bless you, Kev. I appreciate your show and guests. I am a huge Nikola Tesla fan. Just had to say that.
And that...
synchronicity.
Yes.
Synchronicity, because I was just talking about Nikola Tesla with my mom just before the show, and how he talked about how the numbers 3, 6, and 9 were like the key to pretty much.
I'll tell you what, that's
everything.
what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna do the numbers 3, 6, 9, but wait, the number 12 as well, because my mom, she was blown away the other night by a documentary she's seen, and she says, you need to watch this. It's about the number 12. It's number woo. So we're going to go Tesla, 3, 6, 9, 12, gematria, get your calculators ready.
We want to get into all that. I mean, 12 is, a multiple of 6.
33.
6 is a multiple of 3 and all of that good
33,
stuff.
booga.
And there's a 80% possibility that I will be reporting live from the Serpent Mounds next Friday.
And listen, there's a 80% chance right now that what I can hear out the window sounds like a big Barney in a fight in the East End of Glasgow. So I'm away to do a bit of rubbernecking as soon as I get off this show.
Nice.
Get a bit of curtain twitching going on, Scotty,
Yeah. Hey, it's a free show, Kev. It's a free show.
Sounds
Never
like female voices as well. It could get nasty. 3 a.m. in Glasgow's East End. Oh boy, the natives are getting restless. Woo.
You need to throw some gold dust out the window, Kev. Calm everybody down.
Wear my Jimmy Jeans magical golden hat. Listen, if you tried to walk through the housing estate I live in Glasgow with a magical golden hat on, I can guarantee you I know exactly where that magical golden hat's going to end up. Somewhere that a hat should never, ever be. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. We're getting ready now to hand you off over to the paranormal portal. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Didn't touch that dial. And remember, keep your mind open, but not to the point that your brain turns to black goo. We're out of here. And look at that. Didn't hang up on they say once. You see? And the clock being out of whack had me like thinking I'm going to have to do this outro forever today. I was going to have to start making things up there before the music started. But we're good to go, and I want to thank everyone out there.
It's the red pill, Kev. It's got you firing on all cylinders.
It has, but we're going to, I'm just going to see if his link's up and live right now, and I'll get it ready for people. The paranormal portal. What you got planned for the weekend, boys? What you got planned?
Nothing, really.
No. Yeah.
I am revisiting the X-Men franchise this weekend.
Nice, dude, nice.
And then come Sunday, Monday, I got to start going hardcore with ritual and ceremonies.
Nice.
I like the X-Men Apocalypse movie, how it shows Apocalypse building the pyramids with his telekinetic abilities at the beginning of the movie. I always thought that was just cool. I'm like, that's probably how it was done. It wasn't.
X-Men are quite good movies, actually, now you mention it.
They are. They are.
With the Transformers.
They get overshadowed, but they're pretty good.
I like my Transformers as well, dude. That was a good set of movies, man.
Well, towards that end one, when all of a sudden they showed the electromagnetivity, and then also I recalled, that's why I went into the X-Men series, because also then in the Apocalypse where they were having that whole electromagnetic, where they were using Magneto, to pull all of the metal out of the ground and also out of the buildings and the vehicles and the cars. So,
Right,
it makes me always ponder what happens when that electromagnetic field is reversed or changed or manipulated.
Right, come on, folks. We got to go over there. We got to raid. Old Brent's channel here. I want to see his numbers flying up. I'm going to put the link in there. There you go, folks. There we go.
We got to pump those numbers, people.
Yeah, we got to get him right up those charts. Come on. He's got a wicked entrance.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
He does.
Quite a creepy entrance as our Brent.
Very creepy. Yeah.
And I'll need to make us a new one, boys.
It's got that disturbed laughing clown kind of thing going on.
That sounds like a didgeridoo, man. All I can picture
that's Brent Thomas.
Dude, is that Brent?
Yeah.
Is it Brent?
That's
I was
his
actually,
music.
I was about to joke that it's Brent and Dawn.
Well, it is.
He's a musician too.
Ooh.
And then he has that bumper music from Poltergeist with those clips.
Yeah, he's got it going on over there at the portal, man.
Top notch paranormal production going on over there, man.
There we go. We'll catch the first minute of him.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? It's that Friday love just filling the air. This is 2 full hours of fun right at your fingertips, folks.
Woo!
I'm bringing you all
Woo!
the paranormal fun that I could pull together in several hours. So I think I got a bunch of it. I think it should be a good journey. Special thank you to, as always, to Kev Baker and the Kev Baker Show and the Freaky Friday crew and all of those listeners from over at the Kev Baker Show. Freaky Friday, I was over there hanging out, kicking back and enjoying the ride. It's nice. I like to sit back and watch the shows as well, and Kev's show is phenomenal. If you're not familiar with it, get familiar with it because it's a great, they get like the old double header, triple headers and such. Well, that's like Friday night on TFR. There's just this amazing chain of shows that I am absolutely humbled to be a part of course. I do my best to keep up with all these pros, but it's a lot of fun. And if you haven't watched the Freaky Friday show on the Kev Baker Show channel on YouTube or on TFR, you're missing out.
All right, that's enough. Dave's not happy. Never mentioned Dave once.
Very, very nice words coming from Brent.
Nah, Brent's a good guy. Good show. Well produced, as you can see. So head on over there. Algo. Yes, big thank you to Nacy and Scotty. You know, that's the thing. This is not the Kev Baker Show. It's Freaky Friday. We're all the Woo crew. But during the week, Kev Baker Show different. But on a Friday, definitely the three of us pull equal weight here. Apart from that bloody Nacy put shows together and we have to pretend like we're professionals. Did you hear Brent as well? He used the professional word.
I know. I'm like, oh, no, don't. When I hear the professional word being dropped, I'm like, oh, no, I'm definitely nowhere near a professional. Absolutely not.
No. Algo as well. There's another good channel. Check that out. Folks, thank you all for being here. I've got a kangaroo in my throat. I said a kangaroo because I've got a kangaroo sitting here. I don't have a frog, so kangaroo. Maybe back tomorrow night, late on. We'll see. I had so much fun last night, through the night, doing a late night stream. I think I proved to people that I really do mean it when I say I'm working on East Coast time. I was so lively. I had no show to think about, Scotty. I just sat there. We were having a laugh. We got into Woo, got into some creepy stories and reading out some creepypasta style stuff.
What time is that our my time.
Probably round about just an hour before now, usually. 2-ish in the UK, so that's 9 on the East Coast.
Okay, so 2 in the UK.
An hour ago.
Yeah, it'd be 8 o'clock Central Time.
Jimmy Jeans is live in 3.5 hours. Very precise, Jimbo. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Into the microcosm, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeedy. The man that likes to go toe-to-toe with every algorithm you can imagine. And then some. Mr. Jeans, I doff my unmagical hat to you, sir.
He's probing and testing, Kev.
Listen, if there's anywhere I know on this podcasting planet of mine, if somebody said, you can go to one location, Kev, where will you find an alien probe where just the tip? Jimmy's magician's broom cupboard that he broadcasts from. It's got everything in there, dude. It's like the A-team could get locked in there and build a tank.
It's one of those. You know what? I think Jimmy, he broadcasts from one of those you know, in Magic the Gathering, how you could get like an endless pouch and you could just like put things in the pouch, right? I think that's where Jimmy broadcasts from. It's like this zone where all of these artifacts and everything somehow end up there, but it never fills up.
It's like where,
you know what I mean?
like things from the Bimini road get sucked into Jimmy's closet. I'm telling you, dude, it is. And I think we've got it all wrong. I actually think he's a really eccentric billionaire who's probably just given up the trappings of the physical world. And he's just living those paintings behind him. There's probably a Van Gogh, you know, there's probably a Da Vinci kicking about somewhere. I'm sitting there going, look, Jimmy in his wizard's cupboard, man. He's sitting there probably with a golden hat down the side, you know?
Hey, he's got a pretty nice Marshall amp I've seen sitting back there for his guitar.
I solved an ancient mystery last night, Scott, because when Jimmy came on, we were quite perplexed because one of these golden hats, the archaeologist said, well, the brim must be missing because it didn't have a brim. And I said, well, what if it never had a brim? That's just our arrogance again, right? And then the next night when I'm doing my late night stream, somebody says, oh, Kev, do you want to talk about the Dropa stones? And there it was, Scott. The brim of the hat, it's a Dropa stone.
No!
See, nobody's put that together, not Von Doniken, none of them. See, you heard it here first on KBS, folks. I'm telling you, man. But yeah, Jimmy, he's probably got a flux capacitor down there. He's got a super fast, super internet highway to godlike productions. We know, in fact, he might actually be the webmaster.
Oh, the server's hosted in his room right there. I think.
Yep.
I think we've cracked it. I think we know. I think we figured it out. Jimmy.
Yeah. Every morning he's being dusted with gold.
You're behind top secret beyond.
We're all going to get a visit from strange entities all dressed in black for this conversation, boys. You know that? And we're all going to be wondering, was it what we said about Jimmy in his cupboard? I wonder. I'm sure it won't be my theory on the Dropa stones anyway, that's for sure.
As long as it's not because we were talking about Wendigos.
Or the tip, but I've heard the Wendigo probably takes more than the tip, and on that note, it's definitely time for us to get out of here.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for tuning in today, guys and girls. We'll be back tomorrow, Sunday. You know, I'm never far away. Have a great weekend. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the madness, the fun, the woo. And listen, we don't try to tell you what to think. We provide, you decide. And I tell you, it's good to unplug from 3 hours away from the craziness. I can't think of anything better to be doing right now than heading on over to Paranormal Portal. So with that said, we are out of here, ladies, and I'll put on some... I think this is the song you like. Now, wait a minute. This might be it, Kev. Hang on. Is that it?
Oh, am I going to have to start busting up the raps? Friday night, what a delight, something to do. Freaky Friday with the Woo Crew.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. And Algo, our good friend Algo, has said to thank you both, Nathan and Scotty, for being here with me tonight. The audience are definitely conveying their love for you both.
It's a place where you want to go. The Kev Baker Extreme Show, Freaky Friday.
And of course, remember, start the rumors, folks. It's an Illuminati triangle. You know it is. You know it is.
Power to the pyramid.
I sold out, dude. I take the Schwab bucks.
1999.
Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.
How dare you?
Excuse me, it's ma'am.